right, guys, this is it. I'm gonna be sharing everything that I've learned in the last 12 months as a high ticket copywriter, making over 50 grand a month for myself and making millions of dollars for my clients. I've helped 4 communities win the games. I won the games back in August myself. I've helped communities go from 0 to 24K like Marine in December. I've helped communities like Atena's win the school games, coming in #1 and going from 30 grand to 315 grand. And I'm gonna give you guys the behind the scenes, the actual tactical strategies that I implemented with my copywriting and my marketing to grow and scale those communities, to create loyal followings, so you guys can take those skills and take those frameworks and take those templates and do it yourself. I'm giving you the psychology, I'm giving you the templates, I'm giving you the strategies so you can put it together for your own business. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with the actual psychology of selling so you guys have the background information to actually persuade people. The cool thing about this is this works for anyone. And this is going to be a long breakdown. I'm going in depth. This might be 3-4 hours. I don't even know, but I'm just going to sit through with you. We're barely going to edit this thing because I just want to give you guys the information, give you guys the knowledge. And so I don't have a cutoff time. I'm literally just going to give you guys everything I have. I have slides here, all prepared. Been spending weeks creating this stuff for you, just putting everything I know into these slides. So we'll see. It might take a while. I've got my Zevia, so I'm ready to go. But I'm so stoked for you guys to get this information. And if you guys want any more of the resources I give for free, there's a link in the bio. You can hop into my free community if that's something that's valuable to you. But basically my goal with this whole video is just to condense everything I've learned, also so my team can reference it and put it all into one video so people can basically just take that thing that took me 12 months to learn, that skill of copywriting, and implement it on their own. So hopefully this is valuable to you guys. Let's get into it. All right, starting with the actual psychology of selling. So obviously words are what we're basing this whole course around. Like, how do you actually use words to persuade someone to take some type of action? And they unlock the power of sales. So this is just a fancy way to say that, like, words and the combination of them and how you use them are what's going to determine how many sales you get, how much money you make, and how many people you make happy, right? Because like the goal of your product is to solve a problem. So selling shouldn't feel like you're asking for a favor. It shouldn't feel like, you know, you've got to like beg somebody for something. It should literally feel like you're doing them a favor. So if you tap into these psychological principles, all you're going to be doing is communicating the value of what you do. And assuming that what you're selling is solving a real life problem for somebody, it's like you're doing them a favor. You're solving them a problem. So your sales pitch or whatever, like, it doesn't feel like a pitch. This is why I always say, like, I never pitch, because I just have a solution to a very common problem that business owners face. I write marketing that converts. So anyone that's having an issue converting the amount of leads that they want to convert comes to me, and I do them the favor of solving that problem, and they do me the favor of paying me for it, right? But it's an exchange of value. So I want to create income. They want to create income as well. I help them bring in more leads. They create more income, and then I create more income in the process. So it's like, if you're solving a problem for somebody, there's probably even better analogies than that, but it's not something that should feel like you've got to do all of this persuasion and you've got to, like, you know, tap into like this crazy psychological strategy. Like, it really should feel natural. But I'm going to talk mostly about how you actually get into the mind of the reader, in the sense that you're resonating with their problem. Like, you're actually speaking to the solution that you solve, or the solution that you offer them. So 99% of advertising uses copy. This is why it's a really important skill. And this is why it's something that every business owner and obviously every marketer needs to know. Because copywriting, you find that on websites, you find that on ads, social media, you find that on YouTube videos, you find it on school posts. It's all over the place, which is really cool because it's so valuable. And it's also like, once you learn it, you can apply it everywhere. And good copywriting is going to determine your sales. It's going to determine your growth. It's basically the main factor in your success as a business, because everything involves copywriting. Even your sales scripts involves copywriting, because like, that's all about the words that you're saying. It's all about the sequence that you're using, like the psychology you're tapping into, the emotional journey you're taking that person on. So everything involves copywriting. That's actually one of the deliverables I offer on my scope. It's like sales scripts. So this applies to absolutely every component of putting your product in front of a buyer and getting them to purchase it. So it benefits marketing, sales, customer service roles. It just enhances your ability to communicate effectively. Overall, you'll see people like that write a lot are just better speakers. It's something Alex Ramosi talks about all the time, because he writes like, I think something crazy, like 4 to 6 hours every morning. And you can like watch some of his videos where he talks about how much that's influenced his ability to speak articulately. And I think that's something that everyone should learn, because if you can speak and communicate articulately, you have a ton of influence. Like, that is probably one of the biggest factors in having influence. So it helps you sell better in real life. It also helps you with just relationships. It helps you with everything, because you're just better at communicating. So who wouldn't want that? The skill translates into every conversation you'll ever have. Now, who needs copywriting? Everyone. So I'm just going to fly through this, but communities, for example, like I talked about at the beginning, I've helped multiple communities online win school games, which is a competition that Alex Ramosi created. The school games, I think actually is referred to as. But yeah, using their about pages, posts, email. Copy is just like geared to nurture their community and then sell in a way that is like very much a casual, organic way. Especially if I'm using like posts or DMs or like emails with the school community. It's all about relationships. That's why people join communities, is to form relationships. So that's the angle we come at it from for communities. And persuasive copy is just designed to convert visitors into paying clients. So like on the about page, our goal is just to increase conversions in a way that is like actually bringing in the right people. Because you can increase conversions and also have it not be the best thing if you're bringing in the wrong kind of leads. I've seen some of my clients do that as well. And we fix that by just niching down their offer. E-commerce stores, I've also written copy for e-commerce stores, emails, promotions, sales pages. Product descriptions are a big thing because they really illustrate the features and the benefits. So that's a massive piece of copy. I don't dabble too much in that, but it is important to have compelling copy there. Reduce cart abandonment, all of that stuff. Just at the end of the day, we're just increasing conversions. But coaches, that's a massive one. So majority of my clients are coaches, communities, or content creators. And high ticket coaches use copy in like lead magnets, funnels, sales pages, ads, content, all across their email list. A lot of my clients are getting like 20% of their sales from email. So a lot of high ticket people, their CTA is to book a call. So all the emails are geared towards getting more calls booked. Content creators, obviously, they're growing a following and usually they are monetizing that following somehow. And engaging content just keeps readers coming back for more. Effective copy is increasing the shares, the comments, the community growth. So whatever that upsell is, you want to continue growing the audience and building that rapport and that goodwill with them in order to get more upsells. Or sometimes the whole goal is just to grow an audience and then like convert it at a later point. Okay, cool. So copywriting, like we said, like I've just kind of laid it out for you guys. Like everywhere that copywriting is used, it's used in ads because you got to grab people's attention and actually drive action with compelling hooks, compelling body copy, good value stacks in the actual body copy. And then obviously like a good creative. I've never seen an ad creative that's just like a blank square. There's usually some type of words in it. And if it's not like a picture ad, it's a video ad. And that's usually scripted. And so there's copy in every script as well. Social media, so posts that spark engagement, build goodwill, those all require copy. You'd be shocked at how many content creators have people scripting their Instagram stories, their reels, writing their captions for them. Even just writing like the title for a link in your description on social media is crucial to get that right. Because if you make it vague or you make it unclear, then you get less clicks. If you confuse people, they don't buy. Confused buyers don't exist. Like you got to make it clear for them. So emails that get opened, like that's number one, because if you don't get your email open, no one's reading through and actually taking action on the CTA at the end or wherever it is. So you want to nurture leads and drive sales through good copy in the emails. But step number one is really good subject lines that get people to open them. And then sales pages, like, oh my gosh, sales page. I see so many sales pages that are so overcomplicated. We actually have an entire segment. I'm going to break down how to write really good sales pages, but basically like the headlines, the CTAs, those are like the definition of good copy. Like it's the same for just about every piece of content. Like you want the headline to stand out. It's got to stop the scroll. The CTA's got to resonate with the problem that you solve and the audience that you're speaking to. Bios, those are crucial in school, crucial on every social platform, actually, just to like explain what you do and who you help. And then VSLs, hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales can come from a good VSL. I just had somebody pay me thousands and thousands of dollars just to write a 3-minute VSL because it is going to generate him so much more money than that because it's well written and because it's articulated in a way that actually builds trust while selling to the listener. So that's crucial. All right. And some psychological triggers, like let's actually break down how people think when it comes to, potentially making a purchase. So it's all about like actually building trust, which you're going to do a lot with like social proof. So getting customer reviews, like TripAdvisor type stuff, grabbing expert endorsements. Like if you see any of the luxury bags, like, or luxury brands, like whether it's Louis Vuitton, whether it's Rolex, whatever it is, they try and get like endorsements from social media people that are just like holding a lot of influence. So basically they want to convey authority by having someone that already has authority in the mind of their buyer represent their bag or represent their brand. I keep saying bags. I'm just thinking of luxury bags, but yeah, they're showcasing real customer stories, but they're also showcasing ones that are pretty much like fake. Like, if they pay Kim Kardashian to wear a Louis Vuitton bag, I think she does that for free, but like, that's not necessarily like it is a real customer story because I think she does it for free. So that's a bad example. But like a lot of times it's just like they pay some celebrity to come in and sit in an ad because that builds a lot of credibility. And it's a really good investment of money. It's like really interesting when you see some of these really expensive marketing campaigns, the return is insane. I never knew how big of a return marketing or companies in general made from Super Bowl ads, which cost millions of dollars in production and millions of dollars just to host on the Super Bowl. But the return on those ads is insane. If you look at any of them, like I think Kanye had some crazy ad. I don't remember how much money it brought, but it was like a crazy return, more than he would ever get on like a Facebook ad. So he spent millions of dollars on it, but he made so many more millions that it was like ridiculous. So if you look into that, like a lot of times that authority of just being in the right place with the right people in your ad is so worth the investment. It demonstrates like that trust and the credibility. So these authority figures, basically it's just leverage. And then testimonials and reviews from like real customers, that builds belief, builds excitement, builds a little bit of peer pressure when people see other people kind of like, it's that like keeping up with the Joneses mentality where you want to stay up to date with what everyone else is doing. It's just a natural human instinct. But yeah, content from real users is like a secret weapon. And user-generated content, that's also just like a more natural way to share testimonials and reviews. And then we just talked about the influencer endorsements. But I want to break down the actual skill of writing before we get into the subject matter of like how to write an email, how to write an ad, how to write all these specific things. Let's talk about how to just like write in general so you can take this and apply it to everything. And you'll notice this will probably kind of seep into other aspects of your life, whether it's like texting or just like, hopping on a call or writing an email to a friend. Like it's gonna sort of just seep into everything. The way you write copy with like tons of white space, simple verbiage, like all of that. I see it when I text my mom. It's crazy how that like skill, it becomes muscle memory. But here's some of the rules. You want to use short sentences. If you can condense a like 10-word sentence into 5 words, I guarantee it'll be a punchier sentence. You want to make sure the message is maintained, but by just creating really short sentences, you have more clarity, more engagement, because just more people read it. More people actually get to the end and comprehend the message you're trying to communicate. So short sentences prevent reader fatigue. I can't talk. Avoid jargon. This is simple. This is just because if you use really fancy vocab, people feel like you're talking down to them. Like it feels like you're in like a college class and you're talking to a professor or something. And as tempting as it is for like people who are subject matter experts to use the actual expert terms, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, it's not the way that's going to bring in your avatar. When you're in a coaching class or you're teaching your subject or whatever it is, that's when you can use those words. But when you're marketing it, you want to be super simple because you want to make sure people actually get to the CTA. And then this is my favorite one idea per paragraph. This doesn't always mean that it's like one sentence per paragraph. And what I mean by that is basically just like when you write a sentence, you hit enter and you space it out and you have these white spaces between each sentence. And the reason for that is it's just easier to skim. Most people don't read an entire piece of copy in one go. They skim it and then they decide if it's valuable enough to go back and read. And so you want to just isolate those ideas so they're easy to comprehend at just like really fast. And so this helps readers just follow your arguments or follow your ideas. But one idea per paragraph, really, like it could be 2 sentences. Typically, it's going to be 1 sentence is a paragraph. Sometimes 2-3 sentences are grouped into one because it's one idea. But generally, you want to create as much white space as possible because it's just so much easier to read. Like it's night and day. I'll do like a kind of side by side so you guys can see what I mean in a second. But psychological triggers, scarcity and urgency. So our brains are wired to jump on limited resources. It's just human instinct. It creates demand. So it's like a survival response and we feel more pain. This is funny. Like we feel more pain from missing out than we experience joy from actually gaining something. So that's why the only 2 left or 24 hours remaining, those triggers create such a strong reaction where people actually take action because they have this like imposed deadline. And so that rarity of the product makes it feel special, makes us feel unique, makes us feel like we have an advantage over other people. And the fascinating thing is like, even though we know it's a marketing tactic, our brains still let it work on us. It's still like something we can't resist. So I think that's really interesting. And it's something you'll see everywhere. Like if you look at sales or you look at promotions, just like start paying attention to those things because you will see that urgency just built into absolutely everything. All right. So some strategies for creating scarcity and urgency so you guys can go and apply this to your business is like countdown timers. I do this for clients that I'm running webinars for. I'll create a sales page and I'll put a countdown timer. So it's like bold in your face. You can see how many hours there are left until the webinar. Also might do some type of a countdown of how many spots are left. That would work as well if you have a limited spots on your call, or limited spots in your program or whatever it is. But countdown timers just enhance engagement. They create, urgent action, because people see that there's a deadline and they can see it literally coming closer in real time. So flash sales, those also create some urgency, driving, a quick action. Flash sales are just something that are, it should be a really good offer for a really short period of time. Sneak peeks build some anticipation, kind of, teasing something, like maybe you give someone a free trial and they only get like a couple things out of your offer, and that might, get them hooked to the point that they go and invest in the full thing. Limited edition products, that's just like scarcity. Like it's because it's limited edition, only a few people can have it. That makes it so much more desirable. So limited edition products is really just kind of like tapping into what we talked about in the previous slide, of that like feeling of being special. Because if you're like, oh, only like 20 people have this car, or only 40 people have this sweatshirt, or only 10 people have this signed copy of this book or whatever, you feel special by owning it. So that's something that's a really, really good tactic to just build some urgency. Hidden triggers. Our brains use mental shortcuts to make decisions. So we kind of have these like things hardwired into our brains where we like automatically jump from one thing to the next based on past experiences. So we automatically compare prices to the first number we see. This is just a shortcut, and it's called price anchoring, because we actually fear losses more than we value gains. Like that's why you see so many people collecting coupons, or fighting for a discount, or buying a product they never would have bought just because it's on sale, because we fear those losses more than we value gains, and we feel uncomfortable when our actions don't match our beliefs. So we crave that good deal where we feel like we're getting something someone else hasn't gotten. We also crave certainty, and this is why guarantees and upfront answers work really well in removing mental barriers to buying. So we want to feel like we got to win. We want to feel like we made a safe decision, so we don't have to fear the loss. We want to get some certainty. That's also just like to basically, compensate for any potential risk that we could be taking, which is really just a monetary risk by buying a product. There's two risks. So there's a monetary risk, and there's a time risk in any type of a program. Like on school, for example, a free school community, there's still something you're paying with. You're not paying with money because it's free, but you are paying with time to absorb and learn whatever the course materials of that community is, or even just to engage. And on a paid community, obviously you're paying the price that is charged, but you're also investing time as well. So you have to justify more than just like the price. All right, so that's why guarantees and upfront answers work really well, because it's just like gives that certainty. So some cognitive triggers that help with marketing is anchoring, like we just said. So using high-priced options to make a lower-priced one seem more appealing. So like if you're on a sales call and somebody's like, oh, okay, normally I would charge you $500, but because you're here on this call right now, I'll give it to you for $299. That's price anchoring. So they just made the value of the product seem higher, so that then their sale of $299 seems really good, like you're saving $200. Whereas if they just told you $299, you feel like you're spending $300. So see how different that is, like saving $200 versus spending $300. Like that's crazy, and it's the same price. It's just one of them, they gave you a higher price at the beginning just to make the lower price seem better. So loss aversion, that's another thing, highlighting potential losses to motivate purchases. This is basically just painting the outcome of them not purchasing, painting that like nightmare vision as opposed to the dream vision. Risk reversal, that's offering a guarantee. That's basically just building confidence that, like, number one, you're confident that your product works if you offer a guarantee. And number two, they're confident that worst case, they're not losing anything. Preemptive selling, addressing customer concerns before they arise. This is the whole goal of a welcome sequence, in my opinion, is to preemptively sell and basically overcome objections before they've even arisen. Cognitive dissonance, that's just showing the gap between current behavior and product benefits. So those are some really helpful triggers that you can use, and you can integrate those into literally every piece of copy. I would say I really, really use like a lot of these in the welcome sequence. But throughout every piece of copy, you're definitely going to be using a lot of like the loss aversion, risk reversal, if you have a guarantee, and then like the anchoring and framing is especially going to come out in like sales calls. Okay. So this is an example. $299 a month they announced, then right below it they show their middle plan at $99. This is another way to price anchor. So you have multiple options. I do this with my proposals to clients, and it actually often leads to them buying the higher ticket option, which is interesting. But the sneaky part is that $99 actually feels like a steal then. Even though it's still a chunk of change, your brain's going to be like, well, compared to $2.99, $99 not that bad. And the best part is that they slap a little title, most popular, on the middle plan. You'll see this all the time with subscriptions, where they're basically giving you permission to feel smart about saving $200. And yeah, that's a really clever trick there. So psychological triggers when it comes to emotions. So there's so many of these, but these are some of my favorite ones that you can see really clear examples of. And I want to just give you guys some ones that like you recognize the brand so you can kind of see this in real life. And you can go look up the brands here listed and like watch some of their ads, watch some of their content. You're going to see that like they use these emotions all the time. So motivation, Nike's Just Do It hits us with that motivation buzz. We see their ads and we're ready to go, just do it. Just go get started, go work out or go run a marathon or whatever it is. So they use that kind of motivation factor, just like build up some hype, build up some excitement. Airbnb is another one that they kind of tap into an adventure emotion. Like they tap into this like FOMO that makes you want to go and like experience the world and go check out different places and like look at how you can just go like live a different life. So they really tap into like FOMO. The transformation, like that's something Peloton uses a lot when they are talking about their fitness programs and, being the best version of yourself. Red Bull is another one that talks about like adrenaline, extreme sports energy. It's just like tapping into those transformation feelings, tapping into that like excitement. And then status, that's a massive emotion. You're probably targeted with that emotion more than anything else, especially when it comes to like any type of high ticket offer. Like luxury companies use the human desire for status, which is just a natural psychological desire to be like, ranking high in whatever, society you're in. And they use that to sell a much higher profit margin because people want to be known as someone who can afford their product. So the ironic thing is that status emotion creates the value of their product. It literally like the value of a Louis Vuitton bag is created by how much it is. It's not because the materials are that great. It's not because like it's that pretty of a bag. Like they're nice for sure. But the biggest difference between a Louis Vuitton bag and a Walmart bag is just the price. And it's because a Louis Vuitton bag costs thousands of dollars that people stop and stare at it and they say, oh my gosh, that person was able to afford a Louis Vuitton bag. That person must be worth this amount of money. And so the real thing that people are buying when they buy a luxury bag or any luxury product, like luxury car, is they're buying status. They're buying those stares that people are going to give them. They're buying, that envy that people are going to have of their whatever product they bought. And so they're really purchasing status with that, which is very profitable for the sellers. Okay, so now breaking it down, some ways you can like actually communicate these emotional triggers. So we just talked about what they are. Now actually bringing them into your copywriting is you're going to use some storytelling. You can tell stories of transformation, tell stories like Red Bull or Nike does of like people that have accomplished XYZ to inspire. You really want to build some like likability and connection. So you want to be able to like have a rapport with your audience, build goodwill. Maybe tying into some nostalgia. That's another emotion. Personal goals and aspirations like Nike does. Visualization. That's something that like you can use in writing an ad or writing an email is you want to make it super visual to the point that your audience is watching a movie in their head when they're reading that copy. That's the probably hardest skill in copy is visualize or writing visually. But if you can do that, let me tell you, like your copy is going to outperform everyone else in the marketplace. All right. So now let's hop on to the next slide. The psychological triggers, another one, commitment. This is so good when it comes to like subscription services. So MyFitnessPal does this. They basically give you like a tester subscription. So they don't ask you to commit to a lifetime subscription right away. Instead, they start by getting you to log a few meals, set some simple goals. And then before you know it, you're thinking, well, I'm already tracking everything. Might as well just get the premium features. And so that commitment of just like getting your toes in the water is what allows them to then upsell you to their paid program. All right, so the cycle of persuasion and influence strategies is basically you start by offering some free value, you build some commitment, and then you introduce novelty. All right, so that's just like one way to use psychology to sell. And the trick with all good brands is they have a story. You want to pick a cause that you genuinely care about, like Patagonia with sustainability, and weave it into everything you do. And this doesn't have to be like some world-changing cause, but it should be something bigger than just like the problem you're tangibly solving. Like you want this to be something a bit bigger. Like Alex Hormozi, for example, democratizing entrepreneurship. That's a big like cause, and he weaves it into everything he does. And when customers see you walking the talk from sourcing to employee treatment to where the profits goes, that's when they become loyal fans. Like, you want to build an audience that is loyal to the core, and actions speak louder than ads. But basically, like, the goal with that is, like, you look at Apple, you look at that loyal following, they can shift like their focus, create new products, test new things, and their audience is always going to be excited when they have a new release because they're so loyal. They're like cult-like following. Same with Taylor Swift. Like, she's changed like the type of music she makes all the time, like multiple times. She's gone from country to pop to whatever, like folk. And the thing is, like, her audience just loves her to the point that they will listen to whatever kind of music she makes. She could start making rap music. I don't know how that would go for her, but people would still listen to it. So unveiling marketing, curiosity, and intrigue. This is a huge lever that you can use in your business. It's just like creating some intrigue, like teasers and mystery offers, exclusive information. Especially if you have high ticket, you should have some kind of like inner circle or some exclusivity to your offer, because the more exclusive your offer feels, the less people churn. So that's less on the sales side and more on just like continuing to serve customers. And like increasing LTV. Hidden benefits, unconventional approaches, those are things that just like make your offer be perceived as more valuable. So, okay, writing hacks. This is when we're gonna like talk about some things that you can just apply to everything. So be specific. Vague language weakens your message. Specificity builds trust. So if you are super specific with the kind of things that you promise, like instead of just saying like, I don't know, we're gonna make you more money, you say we're gonna make you 10K a month using drop shipping. Don't do drop shipping. But anyways, that's a specific offer. I personally would stay away from that. But being specific with what you get them and how you get it to them and the time frame you get it to them, that's like the key. So instead of running an ad that just says, lose weight, you run an ad that says, are you a mom in her 40s that's looking to drop an extra 10 pounds in the next 3 months? That's so specific. Like, if a mom sees that and she's looking to do that, she is going to click on it. But if a 40-year-old mom sees the first ad that just says, do you want to lose weight? I don't know about you. Like, I don't think she's clicking that because it's just so vague. She might click it, but she's less likely to convert. So you want to quantify the benefits instead of just like save time, save 2 hours per week. Just quantify it and then promise a result. Don't just like describe a vague idea. Guarantee something specific as the outcome. That's the key, because that is actually going to build a lot of trust. So David Ogilvy would physically print his copy and then highlight every claim that he made or every promise in red. And then he'd stand back, look at the page, and if there wasn't enough red, meaning not like enough actual concrete promises, he rewrote the entire thing. And he claimed that like that technique helped him spot fluffy copy instantly. So he could just be super clear with his marketing. I thought that was super interesting, so I just wanted to show that. I have a couple other examples too. But when it comes to headlines, this is also going to go for subject lines, hooks. This goes on school. This goes for ads. Headlines are just like something that you tap into some human psychology to get people to actually stop scrolling and pay attention. First thing is intrigue. You want to pose a question. That's one way to create a hook. But ultimately, whether it's a question, whether it's a statement, whether it's a quote, you just want to make your audience want to learn more. And then there should be a benefit that's stated up front, whether it's like the actual hook itself or first line in or a couple lines in or just alluded to, but show your audience what's in it for them. And then create some scarcity throughout the body copy and like throughout the headline. There should be like a tone of scarcity, even if it's not directly said like how many spots are left or whatever limited time offer it is, but make people act fast. If there's not a reason to act now, people simply will not act now. So you have to give them a reason, and then you got to justify it. So the power of rewriting. This is the biggest hack that, like, when I used to coach copywriters, I would tell them to do this. I don't really do any coaching anymore because like my agency is my whole focus, but refine your message by rewriting it. So the first draft is rarely your best work. Rewriting basically just allows you to clarify your key points and tighten up the language. So I used to I would basically write something and then rewrite it in half the words. And I learned that like from a couple different copywriting coaches, like on YouTube actually, and I would just do that to cut out all the things that were unnecessary to the message. It also improves readability. Multiple revisions help you identify areas that are unclear or wordy so that you can make the copy more concise and scannable. And then you want to connect with your audience. Like, rereading your copy just gives you another chance to put yourself in your client's shoes, in the shoes of your ideal avatar, and really see, how does this resonate with my audience? And does it resonate? And how can I make it resonate better? How can I make it more visual? How can I make it more persuasive? How can I increase the urgency? So rewrite everything. And like the way I would do it is just like write an email, go for a walk or go get a coffee or go do something for 10 minutes and come back and then rewrite it in half the words. Or I would go and I would watch something on copyright. I would go get some different insights and then come back and rewrite it from a different perspective, or go read some customer like comments basically and just like go and rewrite it after that and just get more and more insight so I could get a unique angle on it. Joseph Sugarman, if you guys don't know him, he's a very successful marketer that like a lot of people have studied to learn the basics of copywriting, but he had this Swiss Army method. He'd write the same headline 6 different ways. One as a question, as a news statement, as a testimonial, as a command, as a story hook, and as a direct benefit. And then he'd physically cut them out, like actually cut the paper. So he was writing this on paper, rearrange them on his desk like puzzle pieces, and then combine elements until he found the perfect hook. I think that's so interesting. Like physically write it out, take it apart, cut it apart, and then put it back together like a puzzle. And he claimed that this process basically just helped him see connections he'd miss if it was on a screen. All right, so that's something you guys can try. I think that's a really cool method actually, because you're getting to see a lot of different variations of your hook, and then you basically can just like put together what are the best parts of this and make something that's like gonna be the most persuasive version. So basically the same as like rewriting it, because he's writing it multiple times and then just like putting it back together. So you're going to see that common theme of like, let's see how many times we can rewrite this, reiterate this, and make it better. And you're going to do that no matter what, because even if you're writing and like you post the first draft, you're going to probably write another post or another email soon. And it's basically going to be the same process, but you'll get way better performance, way better open rates, way better views if you just start rewriting it before you post it and have like the second draft be the one you post. All right, so problem, agitation, solution. This is the PAS format. If you guys have heard of PAS, it's a copywriting template. And basically it's just something you can follow to write any post in a way that's going to really paint a vision in the mind of your reader. You want to identify a pain point that your audience faces, show empathy and understanding, but then actually agitate that problem. So kind of like twist the knife a little bit. And you're going to amplify the problem to increase that emotional impact and make the audience feel the urgency for a solution, feel like they really need to take action now and tap into the solution that you have, because you've painted such like a grim potential outcome of their life that they want to avoid that at all costs. And then the solution is where you present your product as the ideal solution, highlighting its benefits. And you want to highlight benefits over just like features. Like I hear a lot of people talk about like XYZ amount of calls in my community or XYZ features, but like people just want to know what that translates to in real life. Like what does that actually do for them? If you can't translate it into a direct benefit into their life towards their end goal, then it shouldn't even be a feature in the first place. But ultimately just talk about the benefits, translate features into benefits, and that's going to sell way better. All right. Now, proof and testimonials. Oh my gosh. There's like nothing more important, right? Like actually building credibility. And if you don't have this, do what I did. And I shared my own story starting out, and that builds belief because people can resonate hopefully with where you were when you started your journey or where you were when you tested XYZ product. But you want to have authentic stories that build trust, and starting with your own or using case studies and testimonials, you're just featuring specific benefits that your product offers. So like I had this on my school about page for the longest time. It's just like client wins, and I would share some clients I'd worked with, some of the biggest communities on school. So that's credibility just by the fact of like I worked with these people doing 6 figs, and then I also like helped them generate XYZ. If you have like clients with big logos, that's another way that you can just share like your credibility and expertise. If you're a software, like talk about how many different companies work with you. If you're a marketer, talking about how many people you've helped work with, like that's basically what I do here. And then like social validation, just like positive comments from social media and just experiences, stories. Because like the thing with stories is they're a natural way to overcome objections. So that goes for case study stories, that goes for testimonials written by the client, and that goes for your own story. It should walk through the brutal like starting point that you or your customer is at, so that the avatar really relates. Because if they relate to it and they start to kind of see themselves in your shoes, that's an easy sale, because now you've just like given yourself this window to go through every potential objection they might have and overcome it by talking about how you had it too, and you still accomplished XYZ, positive end result. All right, now let's move on. Oh, I wish one up. Oops. Storytelling. We just talked about that. So just diving into it a bit more though, relatability, like you want to resonate with your audience. You want to build some like emotional connection and use the storytelling to make your message memorable. I tend to remember stories way better than just like facts and features. And I think that applies to most people. So that's like a huge tool that you can use to actually make your product something that people remember. And then like showcase a transformation. Like whatever the end result of the story is should be a huge contrast to the beginning point. The end should be the dream that people want, that your perfect avatar wants to be in. They should want to be in that dream outcome that you talk about in the story. And they should currently be experiencing some version of the first part of the story where you just started out. Maybe your story, like you started off worse. I'll give an example of this in a second than they did. And that's going to build even more belief. So for example, when I used to coach, I would tell people like, I used to just be like a broke college dropout. I didn't have any income. I literally had spent my last couple dollars on like a coaching program, and I was going to have to move back in with my parents if I didn't make copywriting work. And like that was a really like rough place. So people can see themselves in my shoes, but oftentimes they weren't even in as bad of a situation as I was. So it built even more belief because they're like, wow, like if she could do it. And I would also tell them like, also, by the way, I was a terrible writer. I literally remember my first client was like, let's jump on Zoom. Let's go over what you wrote. And I jumped on Zoom with him, and it was just him like deleting all the copy I had written and like rewriting it. And so like, I would tell people that. I was like, I was not good. I was not like naturally talented at writing. It was just something I did a lot of, and I learned, and I did more copywriting than probably just about anybody else did in a very short period of time to get good as fast as I did. And that transformation story builds a lot of belief, because if people don't have skill, if they don't have resources, if they don't have income, they do probably have some time. They do probably have, at least 4 hours a day that they can just dedicate to learning something. So that was something that was super like relatable and super inspirational. Maybe not relatable, but definitely inspirational. And so that's something you definitely want to showcase. But stories are something you should collect as you build your business. So actionable takeaways, this is just everything we've covered. So simplify your language, short sentences, like we said, avoid jargon, avoid talking down to the audience. Craft compelling headlines. This is step number 1 in getting people to actually read your copy. And then actually like irresistible offer is like the biggest thing behind copy. So we're going to talk about that next. But if you implement these and you improve your copywriting, that's going to boost not just your sales overall, but also the quality of your user experience, because you're actually going to be working with people that need the product that you offer and have the problem that you solve. So then you're not selling, you're just literally solving people's problems, and you're doing them a favor. But all right, let's get into offers next. All right. So when I get on a call with a client, a lot of times they get on the call to learn how they can increase their ROI, how they can write better marketing, how they can get more clients and leads and whatnot. But typically what we wind up talking about for more than half the call is their offer, because what it really comes down to is the quality of your offer and the problem you solve. Biggest thing, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, is like bad copywriting can sell a really good offer, but the best copywriter in the world can't sell a bad offer. So you want to start with a high converting offer that actually is attracting ideal clients. And that's going to be the biggest key to a profitable marketing campaign. You want to find and meet demand with your product. And what I see is a lot of people try and create demand. And the issue with that is like they pick a product that they really want to sell instead of a product that people really want to buy. So my word of advice to those people would just be stop selling what you want to sell and start selling what the market wants to buy. And usually it's just a variation of the offer that my clients were already selling, that they just need to just switch 1 or 2 things and maybe eliminate a couple things, simplify the offer a bit, and then all of a sudden their marketing starts to resonate. So the best copy in the world doesn't sell a bad offer, like I just said. You need to find a niche and a product market fit. So this is step 1, is like the offer needs to meet a real need. Identifying a real existing need in the market, that's probably going to be based on like a problem you've actually solved for yourself. So your experience and research are key to uncovering hidden pain points and desires in the market. And then actually look for saturation and competition. People are so scared of competition, but it's a good thing, because a saturated market means that it's a proven market. It's proven demand. It's offering a clear path to success with the right approach. And so if there's a market and it has no demand, most chances, not all the time, but like most times, it's just because there's no buyers in that market. If there's no competition, there's probably no buyers. Occasionally you find a blue ocean. Typically 99 times out of 100, it's just a undesirable product. So you want to find a market that has at least some competition. And honestly, in my opinion, the more the better, because that's just like more chances for you to create a higher quality product and set yourself apart in a market that has a lot of buyers ready to purchase. All right. So test your offer now. Testing is how you're going to really figure out, like, do you have something worth selling? Do you have something worth running ads for? Do you have something worth creating a marketing campaign for? So you can do free consultations for people. You can run ads. You can analyze competitors, do some content marketing, and just see how it performs. Like if you launch ads, you want to measure the conversion rates and analyze results. That way you can really figure out, where can I improve my offer? What's resonating? What are people clicking on? How do I present it? Like, what do I call it? And really fine tune it from there. And if you look at like competitors and what they're running, what what their ads look like. That's going to help you understand the strategies that are working in the market right now, and really look at like places you can improve and create your unique angle. Free consultation is basically just like taking a beta client, like taking a client that is like probably going to get the process for free just to give you some feedback or give you a result, or not a result, but give you a review. And that interaction is also going to allow you to improve your product. And then content marketing, you're just going to, I mean, this is probably the slowest way to get results, but it is a good way to get results. If you create content around a product, you can measure what kind of views it gets. Like, for example, I used to create like all these business podcasts. They're still on my channel, and they would get no views because they were so vague. It was basically just like listening to entrepreneurs' stories, and nobody really cared because they weren't big enough entrepreneurs that people knew their names. So it was just kind of irrelevant to the market. But then I switched and I started doing content exclusively about copywriting. And all of a sudden, like, people really liked that. And I started getting views and like way more engagement. And I would realize like I was just actually meeting a demand that people on YouTube had, and, you know, solving a problem for them that they actually wanted solved, as opposed to vague podcasts that kind of just wasted people's time. So that was a really big breakthrough for me, just like telling me basically niche down. And that testing phase is going to give you a lot of data. So you need to test the headlines, you need to test angles, CTAs, to really figure out what performs best in your niche. And if you want to just accelerate that process, look at the competition. So now getting into the actual design of your offer, there's 4 human instincts that are going to allow your offer to just outperform anyone else. And if you if you don't solve, or you don't find yourself in one of these brackets, you're going to have to mask your offer a bit to be in that bracket. So the main things are going to be tied into actual psychological needs. Sorry, just had to pause because there's people honking right outside my door. But so here we're talking about the actual psychological drivers. These are not offers themselves. So want to make sure I clarify that, because like self-improvement as an offer is actually not a great offer, but self-improvement is a human desire that you can kind of offer mask. It gets a little confusing, but I'll explain it more. But you can use that desire to create an offer that people will actually purchase. We want to go back to that statement at the beginning about like tangible results and quantifiable results, and figure out ways to make the offer very quantifiable. So like financial security, that's something people really desire. It ties into status and all of those things. You're not actually going to offer people status as an offer though. You give them a Louis Vuitton bag, or you give them a Porsche, and that's what gives them the status. So it's about figuring out what's the human desire that this offer ties into, and then what's the actual product that delivers on that in a tangible way. So like meaningful relationships, people crave companionships, connections, they want to have a family. And so you're not offering a meaningful relationship probably as your offer, but you might offer like the 60-day get a girlfriend blueprint or something, guaranteed to find you like your dream girl. That's tangible because you can measure if it actually worked or not. But it is a bit of a tough niche to be in because it's hard to guarantee that. However, that's the kind of offer people would buy because it's concrete, it's something measurable. So moving on to the next one. Human psychology in your copy is what we focused on a lot in the last one, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but when it comes to your offer, you just want to make sure there's a biological human need that it's actually tied into. And that's when you can communicate to like your customers in just like a way that is going to resonate with something deeper than just like a surface level want. So whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on TikTok, LinkedIn, or school, communicate the power of your product to actually solve that problem in their life, and paint a picture. So visual language, show how the product changes their life, focus on potential positive results, and avoid the inevitable negative outcome if they don't buy. So like what I mean by that is like you want to show them how your product helps them avoid a negative outcome. I don't mean like avoid talking about the negative outcome. You want to talk about it. You want to talk about it a lot, and you want to talk about how you can help them avoid it. Build trust. Use honest conversational copy. Transparency is going to build so much customer loyalty. I know I'm reading these out of order, but they're kind of like they're very similar. Build belief and build trust. Like they want to trust that your product is actually going to work. It's actually going to give them the results that you're talking about. You can leverage your personal story to build a lot of belief, and this is just going to make the reader actually believe your offer will work for them. And then building in some excitement and urgency is what's going to get them to take action. Limited time, limited time, limited spots. Those are like the action-oriented CTAs that get people to buy now, as opposed to like thinking about it and then never buying. So using powerful words like new, make people feel like they're early to an opportunity. Again, tying into human psychology of making them feel special. That's huge. All right. So this is Alex Hormozi's value equation. You guys might have seen this if you know Alex Hormozi. He talks about this in his book Offers, which is a really good book to read. Very like if you want to go deep on offers, like a lot deeper than this course is going to go, you really want to read this book. But basically, the value of your offer is going to be the dream outcome. How big is the dream? Times the perceived likelihood of achievement. So you want to have a big dream, and then you also want to make it very likely, or you want the buyer to feel like it's very likely that they achieve that. And then you want to have a very small time delay, so the shortest process possible, and the smallest amount of effort and sacrifice. So like, let's say your offer is to get a 6-pack, right? So that's a good dream outcome. A lot of people have the dream to get a 6-pack, get ripped, get lean, whatever. And then perceived likelihood of achievement, you can show a bunch of before and after pictures of people that have done it. You can show all of the dietary resources they're going to have, show them how you have like this protein powder that only has 25 calories, but it gives them whatever, like something crazy. That's a really like high perceived likelihood of achievement because it's super easy. You can show demonstrations of how simple it is to make the protein powder, whatever. And then the time delay, you want to show these case studies of people doing it maybe in 6 weeks or 90 days or whatever it is, and talk about how they didn't have to give up their favorite foods. Maybe you have some testimonials of people talking about how they could still eat pizza once a week or whatever. That's going to have a small time delay, small effort and sacrifice, but a big dream outcome and a very high likelihood of achievement. That's a valuable offer. So you want to obviously there's no way you're going to eliminate time delay. You're not going to eliminate effort and sacrifice. Every offer requires something, but if you can make these as small as possible and make this side as big as possible, your value is going to be a lot higher. So, all right. People don't buy vague offers. This is why we want to quantify things. They need to be able to measure the outcome. And more than that, it needs to be something tied to a naturally ingrained need as a human species. So something that is just naturally hardwired into our brain, aka our instincts. All right. So getting back to that, the quantifiable results, we talked about this briefly, but building credibility and trust is what's going to actually make the numbers in your quantifiable end result matter. So measurable outcomes, like focusing on outcomes that are easily quantifiable so people can get to the end of your program and know if they actually got the result that you promised them. Like if you're promising them confidence, it's really hard to measure that. It's actually impossible to measure that because it's a subjective word. So it means something different to different people and it's measured differently by different people. But if you're promising them 10 dates a week or 10 dates a month, that's easily measurable and that's tied into confidence. But yeah, so you don't want to just promise weight loss. You want to promise like a number on the scale or whatnot. Specific numbers, the figures, the time frames, those just make the promise more believable. Clear communication, just like communicating that result very clearly. You don't need like a whole paragraph to communicate your offer. It should be able to be communicated in one sentence. And you'll do that a lot faster if you avoid subjective language. All right. So don't say stuff like join my comprehensive training system. Because to be honest, nobody cares. Like that, nobody cares about your comprehensive training system. They care about what that comprehensive training system gets them. But they probably don't want to be trained and they probably don't want to go through a system. They just want an end result. So if you want to target someone who wants more sales, put a number on it. Say an extra 10K a month in sales. Or like the weight loss niche. Lose 20 pounds in 30 days with a 15-minute workout versus join my elite fitness academy. Which of those is more desirable? Definitely number one, like lose 20 pounds in 30 days with 15-minute workouts is very clear, quantifiable, and it's a short time frame. So it checks all the boxes of that value equation. And it's something that is way more appealing than join my elite fitness academy because nobody cares about an elite fitness academy unless it gets them this. And they don't care what the name is. They just care about the end result. So one tells you exactly what you get. The other one's just fluff. And the bottom line is if your clients have to guess whether your stuff worked, you failed. So you want to make it so measurable that they know whether it's worked or not. So this is an example of a really bad one. Best ways to make money online. Vague. What, like, no. Versus how to generate 1K to 10K per month with high ticket affiliate marketing. Okay, so it's a clear amount of money. It is a range, but it's still clear and it's not unbelievable. So it's a realistic range per month. So clear time frame. With high ticket affiliate marketing. So a clear method to achieve that. It's just like 5 best ways to make money online. Okay. Now, when presenting your offer to the market, you might not present the entire offer. This is like an interesting thing. Like there's a lot of elements to every offer, but like there's typically only 1 or 2 that are really desirable to your avatar. So some aspects of your offer may be vague or subjective, and that's fine. What we're going to present is the part that's actually very clear and quantifiable. So like I gave this example before of like, let's say you have an offer that helps middle-aged moms lose 10 pounds and build confidence. You're not going to say, come build confidence in 6 weeks, even though that may be a component of the end result many women in your program experience. I would assume if they lose 10 pounds, they're going to feel confident. They're going to feel like, I have accomplished something I wanted to do. I've got some grit. I've got some, some more confidence. I guess because it's more of a willpower thing. So yeah, there's gonna be a confidence to that. But instead, you want to focus on the component where women are seeing your content and ads, and they can actually measure the result, and that's 10 pounds. People can get on the scale and they can see if they're 10 pounds lighter than when they started your program, and they can look at their calendar and measure the time frame they did it in. So you can deliver people what they need after they've bought what they want. So you can deliver them on the confidence, you can deliver them the mindset, you can deliver them, the more vague aspects of your offer after they've already bought the 10 pounds in 60 days or whatever it is. So you want to sell the tangible offer and then deliver on the intangible aspects after they've already bought. Okay, so offer psychology, clarity and objectivity. This is just going to help you avoid the subjective language. You want to avoid vague language. You want to instead use things like, instead of using things like be more confident or become your best self, focus on quantifiable outcomes. So we just talked about that. For example, instead of making more money, specify a concrete goal like $10,000 in passive income or increase your monthly sales by 20%, because that's clear, it's measurable, it's objective. And so the potential customers are going to know very quickly whether that's something they need or not, as opposed to getting confused and then never taking action on your offer. So defining your perfect client is going to really help you define your perfect avatar, and it's going to help you target for success. So otherwise you're just targeting everyone. You're bringing 1 million people into your funnel. They don't resonate. You're wasting money on ads. You're wasting time on content, and you're just wasting time on sales calls also. So an example here of a Facebook ad, you want to clearly specify who needs your niche, avoid that broad audience, and instead target specific people and get really detailed. Qualifying factors to your niche is going to help people actually trust you. If you say who your offer isn't for, that's a good thing because it's going to eliminate people, but those people that it doesn't eliminate are going to feel like they're even more qualified for whatever it is you offer. And then you want ultra niche copy. So thoroughly research your target market so that you can actually figure out how they talk, their pain points, their aspirations. And I'm going to get into how you actually research them, like where you can find out how they talk or what language they use in a minute, or basically just how I do that. But offer masking, like I said, is presenting the most appealing angle to your offer, focusing on the measurable benefits and highlighting tangible results. The things that your offer provides that are actually physically tangible and avoiding the less quantifiable aspects. So avoid subjective claims like become your best self or be more confident, because those are just open to interpretation. So you want to focus on the measurable results, even if you have this in your offer. Okay. And yeah, the pricing strategies. Pricing is an interesting subject. High ticket versus low ticket is going to determine how you present your offer. People will pretty much buy anything for $10 a month. Low ticket, you don't need to be as clear, but it will help if you want to scale. Your target audience is going to determine your price point a lot of times, because they're going to determine how much money is even realistic to charge. So if your target audience is high school kids, you're not going to be charging them $10,000 a package. But if you want to charge $10,000 a packet, maybe you just change your target audience and you don't target high school students, you target 30-year-olds. If you're teaching drop shipping or you're teaching SMMA or whatever it is, you want to target people that are actually in a bracket of income that can afford your offer. So the more specific you are with your offer, that also allows you to charge more, because the end results are typically more desirable and that justifies the price point. And then the value perception, price can influence value perception. Like I said, with that example of Walmart versus Louis Vuitton, sometimes the price is actually the thing that makes it more valuable because it's just a sign of quality and exclusivity. So that's a really interesting way to increase the value of your product. So scaling your offer, low ticket versus high ticket, you can fundamentally scale low ticket or high ticket. It's not easier to scale one or the other. It's just different. So scaling potential, they both have potential to scale. It just depends on the strategy, the size of the team, the amount of customers you want to deal with, everything like that. It's just going to determine that, that experience for you and for your audience as well, obviously. But you have to just figure out what it is that you want to be building. And if you want a massive company with a lot of employees and a lot of customers, low ticket is probably the route. If you want a smaller company with just a few really high ticket customers, then high ticket is probably the route. High ticket is just more high touch. It's more customized. It's more personalized. It's going to require fewer but more highly specialized team members. So the overhead's still going to be there, but it's probably going to be slightly less. And low ticket's one to many. So it's scalable through more templated processes, more automation, and targeting a larger audience. So you have more customers, but you're giving them one or you're giving them less one-on-one support. So it's not going to require as much time intensive. And at the end of the day, it's probably more scalable because you can give them less. The expectations are a lot lower because they're paying a lot less. So the templated processes and automations are fine because they're probably not paying you $10,000. Maybe they're paying you $50 a month or whatever it is. So there's a lot of things to consider there. But if you're looking at your ideal avatar, you really just want to identify what can they afford. And if that's not what you want to charge, you have to adjust your avatar. So when it comes to who you want to work with, high-end clients, they're going to value quality and exclusivity. So they're going to want a really tailored process. They're going to want a high-touch process. Whereas budget-conscious clients are probably seeking the best deal. And some people, it just depends on your offer. They may be really high-class clients, but they don't want to spend $10 on whatever it is you offer because it's just not worth that. So it depends on your offer too. Successful entrepreneurs, they're going to be looking to invest into growth. They're going to be understanding the value of a high ticket offer. But the higher the price of your offer, the higher the perceived value and the quality of the leads you'll attract. So that's something to consider. Personally, I would rather work with entrepreneurs and business owners who've already established themselves than I would people that are just freelancers, because of the process and the program that I offer, it's just going to be more valuable to people that already have a business to implement these marketing systems. Whereas if someone that's brand new to business is trying to implement a advanced marketing system, they're probably still on step one, and it's not going to be the best investment of their money. So you want to consider whether you want to work with luxury-minded clients, more budget-conscious clients, or entrepreneurs. There's so many different demographics, and then tailor your message accordingly. So also take into account that price on its own adds value. People assume more expensive offer is a better offer and therefore may take you more seriously. And a low price paired with a really good offer may actually devalue the offer. So if you charge too little for your offer, people are disinclined to trust you. And it's actually it's going to make it harder to sell your offer because they're going to look at you and be like, why are you pricing this $5,000 value offer at $5? That just seems like a scam, and there's no way you're actually giving me $5,000 worth of value. Even if you are, they're just not going to believe that you are. So ultimately, you can scale either way. Low ticket, you're going to scale that through templated processes and automations. And high ticket, it's more like a customized, personalized approach, but you don't need as many clients to get to that same level of income. So the key takeaways is 1, define your niche. Have a very specific audience with a clear need and a desire for your offer. 2, test and validate. Make sure your offer is actually something that people want by posting it, making ads, taking a beta client, studying competition, and then quantify your results. Clearly communicate the tangible and measurable outcomes of your offer. Make sure it's something very clear, and choose your strategy. Decide whether you want to focus on low ticket, high ticket, and just base that around the avatar that you want to work with. And that's going to really allow you to get niche with your marketing. So you're not just trying to bring everyone into your funnel, trying to work with really unscalable marketing strategies and a really expensive marketing campaign. Instead, you can just focus on the right people and save your team money, save your marketing budget money, and just really work with people that you want to work with. So that's everything on offers. And now we are actually going to apply some of that copywriting psychology to emails and talk about mastering attention when it comes to actually writing something specifically. So we live in an economy where attention is the biggest commodity, right? Everyone is fighting for the audience's attention, whether it's on Netflix, whether it's social media, whether it's the radio station, whether it's Spotify, whatever it is, you are literally fighting with so many other things besides just other emails or other ads or other pieces of content. You are fighting with multiple different platforms that are trying to grab the audience's attention. I've got listed here: TikTok, Spotify, Netflix, text messaging. There's so many different platforms that you are fighting for attention with. All right. So we want to master the hooks essentially that grab people's attention. But when it comes to emails, there's an overload of emails. There is an overload of other companies sending marketing emails. There's clutter in the inbox. Average people are getting over 100 emails every single day, and your message needs to stand out. So let's talk about mobile first. Most people check their emails on their phones, meaning that you want to design your email for smaller screens, and you want to grab attention in a small amount of words. Consider adding emojis that get readers to take action, but also just keeping things super short and concise is what's going to really bring in the sales. Subject line secrets. So 40 characters are what's going to really capture attention. Brevity is key. So that just means keeping things short. Mobile users need it short and sweet. You want to use intrigue, but you don't want to deceive people with this bait and switch hook. So you really want to deliver on that hook, but it does need to be alluring and clear and direct without being misleading. So you want to personalize a lot of the aspects of your email. Sometimes that means like using the actual name of the reader, the name of their company. Building trust by just like speaking to their actual need is another way to personalize it, just like not using cliche language. Which hook strategy is better? So long hooks are, it's good because you can communicate a lot, but you're risking losing their attention. So it may lower a lot of conversion rates just because people can't read it all in a quick look. Whereas short hooks are immediate value, presenting the hook or presenting the offer rather really quickly, and then higher engagement because people can read it faster. And the faster people can understand your message, the more likely they'll actually just get to the CTA. Content alignment, that's just going to deliver on the subject line's promise. So your content should align with whatever is said in the hook. No clickbait. Like you want to avoid that like whole like group of just like getting people to click, getting people to open, getting people to watch, whatever, and then they get to the video, they get to the email, they get to the content, and they're disappointed because it doesn't deliver on what they were promised. So avoid deceptive tactics. Just whatever it is that you're going to deliver, make sure it's good or don't write the email. Trust is key. So if you don't deliver on it, what you risk is just that people won't click emails in the future. So would a friend send your email? You want to try and deliver that authenticity. That will get people to click because they feel like you're just a friend, and people are way more likely to click something that a friend would actually send them. So trust is key. Now, we want to actually break that down into how do you make it feel authentic. Casual tones are just like going to make people feel like they can trust you quicker because it's a relaxed conversational style. So just making things relatable, making it approachable, writing like you're just writing to a friend, explaining your product like you're selling it to your mom, or you're just explaining it to your dad or your brother or whatever. That means you're probably not using perfect grammar. You're probably not writing the way your English teacher would tell you to write. You're probably just going to have cut off sentences. You're probably going to have random emojis or random quotation marks or whatever it is. But that's going to make it feel more real. It's going to make it feel more personal. And using anecdotes and stories is also going to add a layer to that of just showing your human side, making it more relatable. Optimize for white space. So I know I told you guys earlier on, I'm going to show you what it looks like to write good copy versus bad. And you want every thought to have its own paragraph. So one of these is just all chunked up. You're not going to read that. One of them is spaced out. And honestly, I think this could be spaced out even more. I like to have each sentence be its own paragraph, except for occasionally when there's a thought that should be 2 sentences put into one paragraph. But visual breaks using short paragraphs and spacing is going to make it way easier to scan. And ultimately, that's just going to divide up the thoughts in a way that's way easier to condense, allow people to just scan it and get an idea of what it is you're saying. Because almost nobody reads every word in a piece of copy. I would be shocked. I actually would probably say nobody does. Just because the way our brains are wired, we're just geared to scan things. So use that to your advantage. Use short attention spans to your advantage. And focus on solving problems instead of selling a product. Because if you can identify people's need and just sell organically, you're going to build goodwill while you're selling. You're going to offer solutions in a way that brings in cash. You're basically just solving someone's problem in a very tangible way and building value. And so your product steps in as the solution to whatever their problem is. So painting a picture is another way that people are going to become more engaged, because if you think about it, people are way more engaged in Netflix than they are in books, right? So if you can make people feel like they're watching a Netflix show or they're watching a reel or a TikTok because you're painting such a vivid picture in their mind, they're way more likely to stick around to the CTA. So using words that make them feel and see things transports them just to an alternate reality. That's keeping them engaged because they're actually watching it play out in their mind. So details that they can actually sense, emotional connections, and vivid language are what I use to do that. But now let's get back to the actual platform that they're consuming this content on. It's going to be a phone. It's probably going to be a smaller screen. So design your emails for on-the-go readers. 55% of people actually open emails on their phone. So it's not like everyone's opening it. A lot of people, I'm one of the people that does open a lot of emails on my desktop just because I'm on my desktop a lot. So it's 55%. It's slightly more than half, but you definitely want to make sure your emails are optimized for mobile because it's still going to be something that's easy to consume on desktop. Whereas if it's optimized for desktop, it doesn't go vice versa. So approximately 55%. And then that's a smaller screen size. So 40 characters is what I aim for because that's when it starts to do that ... thing and cuts people off. But know your audience, speak their language, know your audience and where they consume the content as well. Because I would argue that an older audience, and statistics can back this up, is more likely to open an email on a desktop. Whereas a younger audience is more likely to just pull out their phone and look it up on there. So now when it comes to actually writing for your audience, that's more than just the platform. It's also how you speak. It's the verbiage you use and the vocab. Remember how we talked about It's not about using super complex jargon that's niche related. You want to use simple language. You can get into the complex jargon later on once you're actually teaching your subject matter, if you're a coach or, course creator. But when it comes to the marketing, keep it simple. Speak their language. Use the tone your audience uses. You can look on Instagram. You can look on, the comments on YouTube. You can look on Reddit, whatever it is that your audience is talking on. Use that platform to match their tone and use the style that they appreciate. Use slang that they use emojis that they use, just to create some personality. Avoid the spam trap though. Stay authentic and stay genuine. Be just like super genuine the way you speak. Like it's a redundant topic, I know, but like looking at the way they're actually talking online, whatever comments they leave, whatever posts they make on Reddit where people are super like just anonymous and authentic. And then I use ChatGPT too to like list out what are common search trends in this market, what are common questions people have, common excuses they make. Because when I'm bringing on a new client, I want to learn that avatar really quickly. And so I love to use like a listicle from ChatGPT to just list out how do I go and address all these concerns in a welcome sequence and make sure my emails are meeting those concerns and meeting people where their belief point is. So you want to provide real value and avoid phrases like click now, avoid the cliche like ChatGPT language, but use ChatGPT as a tool to outline what are people's objections. All right, test your email with a spam filter. So this is a hack. Like if you can go and send your email to a spam filter, you can run it through like some of these just advanced little algorithms that tell you how likely it is to land in your avatar's inbox and how likely it is to land in spam versus primary versus promotions. So you want to identify those issues before you ever send it out, because that's going to improve your sender reputation if you're not sending spam-worthy emails in the first place. So your goal is obviously with an email to drive action. But to do that, you need to make sure you're super clear. So avoiding the spam is step one. Using relatable language is step two. Those are just things that are actually going to get people to trust you. But then when people get to the end of your email, how clear is your CTA? How obvious is it that it is the next step in the sequence of actions that they've taken? You want to tell the readers what to do very simply, and then make it really easy to click. So your links should be mobile friendly. But they should also just be really simple. All right, so if the whole goal of writing an email well, of using good verbiage, of using a good writing structure, of using a good CTA is to get people to take action, right? Then we want to make that action as easy as possible for people to take. So we just want to streamline the process. So that starts with a really clear CTA, making the call to action super obvious, not having multiple call to actions, because a lot of people, they'll have like, book a call here, but if you don't want to book a call, check out this free resource. But if you don't want to do that, buy here. And it's like, confused buyers don't buy. So you want to start with a CTA, make it really clear, only one option, so that they know exactly what they should take after reading the email. Then you want to make it easy, just like easy links. Like it should be mobile friendly. The buttons should be large and obvious. I will get into like CTAs in a bit, but CTAs that are red and yellow tend to perform best. So you'll see a lot of like marketers using red buttons that, call to action here. And the yellow, I think I forget what the difference in the click-through rate is, but it's similar. I tend to opt for either red or yellow. There's also like green that does okay, blue, and then it kind of goes downhill from there. But I would go with red or yellow. And then you want to make the goal really obvious. So like, what is this CTA actually getting them closer to? This goes back to the offer, goes back to every component of the copywriting that we've covered so far, and just making it really clear, the sequence of steps that they need to take and where it gets them at the end. So another thing you can do is like using emojis and everything to keep people engaged. That is going to be largely dependent on the audience that you're writing for. And now diving into email templates. This is kind of controversial because email templates, in my opinion, can also kind of do more harm than good if used the wrong way, because people confine themselves to these really strict rules of like what to write next and how to follow like this, XYZ template. And they basically just model other people as opposed to writing something that's unique. And at that point, you might as well just use ChatGPT, because like if you're not writing something unique, you're just going to sound like AI. But if you use an email template as like a guideline, as a framework, you can get a lot out of it. And it just gives you this like journey that you have to take people on in order to get them to take action on your CTA. So you start with, for example, I'll go into another template here, which is going to be PAS. Looks like I don't have the slide for it here, but basically like PAS, we talked about DIC is disrupt, intrigue, click. And then there's a hero's journey. There's a couple other like templates, but if you follow a proven template, you want to essentially just like take that and break up the segments of your email right under like the PAS, for example, right under P, like about the problem. Then you're going to go into the agitation, so twisting the knife there. Then you present the solution. You want to like literally lay it out so that it's impossible for you to not get it right, and then go in and edit it. So like go in and just add a unique touch to it. And what it's going to do is just like save you time, but you just have to make sure you customize it. You have to make sure you make it unique. And then the sign off on your email, whether it's your own email, you're writing for a client, or you want, you're writing an email that's like ghostwritten for someone, you want to make sure that the CTA is going to feel personal. So the cliche sign offs like best or whatever, like they're fine, but if you have a sign off that actually ties back into the email, that's a great way for you to kind of reinforce an identity in the reader that's going to make them more likely to click your CTA. Because there's a majority of readers that are not going to have clicked whatever your CTA was at the end of the email. And then you have two more chances to get them to click. One is your sign off and another is your PS statement. So you want to reiterate the CTA in your PS statement, but the sign off is a great way for you to kind of like just like reinforce their identity. So I have some clients, I'll sign it off with like, see you at the top, or, to your growth or something. That's like generic, but you can make it super specific depending on what you're marketing. Goal is build belief, reinforce your message, remind them of the value of your offer, reflect the identity, showcase your brand, ensure that it aligns with your persona, and then just be unique. Like let your personality shine. Avoid the generic sign-offs. Like we said, that's just going to like, anything that's generic in your email, the reader is just going to mentally write off. So that's why you want to be unique. Now, when it comes to like the CRMs that you're actually going to use to send out your emails, this is something you want to do a bit of testing and market research with. So I'm not going to say like use this CRM or whatever, but there's a few that I've used for my clients. So I just kind of laid them out here. Salesforce, it's great for large teams, tracks like interactions, and it has some really strong automation features, but there's a lot of like learning involved in actually getting that up and running. HubSpot is another common one. I've used that for a couple different clients. It's free to start with, so it's like great to like get started with, and easy contact management for growth. And then Go High Level, that's a really common one for agencies and a lot of school communities. It's kind of like an all-in-one. It's, got everything you need to build simple websites, send out SMS blasts, emails. It's good for a lot of agencies. And I would say it's like a pretty quick learning curve, so that's good. ActiveCampaign, I think it's a little bit cleaner. It's got advanced email automations. Go High Level also has email automations. So you can pretty much make any of these work. There's just different learning curves for all of them. And segmentation, like that goes for all of these. Like you can segment your audience, and that's something that like I'll talk about a bit later on, but like segmenting your audience is going to really increase your email deliverability. So warming up your email, when you get set up on a CRM, this is like if you're really a beginner when it comes to emails, you're going to have to warm up your email. You have to slowly raise the sending volume so that you don't just like fry your domain, and set up a daily sending routine and really just like optimize for good engagement so people open and read your emails. Because you don't want those emails to go to spam. Like the last thing you want to do is write a really good email and then like no one opens it. It's got a great hook. It's got, everything that you need, all the ingredients, but nobody actually sees it. You need a good reputation for your email. Otherwise, like none of the other stuff we've talked about here is even relevant. But like, let's talk about email automations for a second, because this is what you're going to build out on your CRM. So the lead capture, automatically segment leads based on actions. This is where you really want to make sure that you are able to target people based on what they actually want, based on where they are, and based on, what information they've given you on themselves. So sending like personalized follow-ups and stuff, like you can put people on different automations based on whether they've opened emails, where they found you, what lead magnet they opted into, if they were on a webinar, if they were on a sales call. Those are really important segments to create. So if you're at the very beginning of getting your CRM set up, this is probably irrelevant to you. But it is going to be helpful down the line just to boost conversions. Like I said here, just gives insightful analytics. Like maybe there's a reason why people aren't opening XYZ freebie, and it's maybe because they already got it or whatever. Like there's things that you want to be able to track, and you don't want to just be sending the exact same cliche message to everyone. So that's that. Focus on the action you want the reader to take, and your sign off is another way to instill the identity in the reader. So a couple more benefits of the segmentation. I'm going to move on from this, but it just increases your deliverability, allows you to target the messaging, and then improve your ROI. All right. So when should you send emails? How frequently should you send them? How many should you send? This is going to depend a lot on your audience, on your niche, and the expectations you've set in your welcome sequence. But you do want to be consistent. So like if you're trying to sell anything, and this is like a pretty broad recommendation, which is going to be, you're going to have to do your own research to determine if this is true for you, but you want to be consistent with your emails. So like I like to break it up by how many nurture emails, how many promotion emails, how many just like resource emails I send. But like, for example, like you can send 1 to 2 emails per week that are maybe just market insights. And then you send 1 to 2 emails that are promoting a free call with you. And then you send 1 email a week that's just promoting a direct link to your sales page or whatever. That's going to depend a lot on your audience and on your offer. Obviously, if you have a $20,000 offer, you're not sending them directly to a sales page unless your email list is like, only people making $1 million a month. Like, it's very rare that you're going to send people directly to a sales page, to be honest. But segmenting your audience, that's just like allowing you to target active users or people that have already received a freebie or whatever. And then you can kind of just base how often you email them based on how much they open your emails. So that prevents the list fatigue. Limiting 4 to 5 promotional emails monthly is probably going to be the best route for you. And then, if you oversend promotional emails, like industry statistics, it's like 69% unsubscribe rate. So you want to avoid that. And monitor your unsubscribe rates closely, because if they're going above a 0.5% unsubscribe rate, you want to reduce how often you're sending emails, or at least how often you're sending the type of emails that people are unsubscribing from. So prioritize on delivering value, because your email list is so valuable. It is like an audience that you own, as opposed to a lot of other audiences on social media where you're kind of just subject to the algorithm. So you want to make sure that you're really taking care of that list, and you're making sure that the value is there. You're building goodwill, because then if you need a capital injection into your business, you want to run a webinar, you want to do a launch or something, and that goodwill is there, it's such a valuable asset. People are ready to buy. They trust you because you've just delivered value. So the key takeaways for this is just like, you want emails that are going to get read. So that starts with a good hook, but then it also needs to have good email, like a good email health rate. Your domain needs to actually deliver to their primary tab. So it's those 2 components. Writing short, concise, clear hooks. That's what gets people to click. Number 1, though, they have to actually see the emails. So that's kind of like the 2 sides of that coin. And then just being authentic and prioritizing mobile is going to help you get a lot more views. And I'm going to dive into like a little bit more on hooks, because we kind of just breezed over it. So I'm going to dive into what that actually looks like to write a good hook, because it's easy to say, keep it short, be concise, be clear, make a promise, whatever. But I want to actually like break that down, what that looks like. All right, so diving a bit more into the actual subject lines that are getting people to click and read your emails. And then we're going to go through and actually dissect some really good emails so you guys can see what this looks like in real life. But good subject lines, assuming your email health and domain is good, is what is going to actually get people to click your email, read to the CTA. And so arguably it's what you should be spending the majority of your time on, is writing a really good subject line. But overthinking subject lines is going to waste your time. So you want to actually go in, at least this is how I do it, is I go in and I like to write the email first. It depends, like if there's an actual theme of what I need to write about and I happen to think of a thumbnail or I happen to think of a subject line, I'll write it. But oftentimes it changes based on the direction that the email takes. But most people spend about like 30 minutes writing an email and then 30 seconds on the subject line. And I just think that's completely backwards, because the subject line is what is actually determining if your email gets open at all. So if your email gets a 2% open rate, you might as well have not even written it in the first place. Great email, crap subject line, that's just going to lead to 0 sales. So a decent email with a killer subject line is money in your bank. So that's why you want to probably spend like 80% of your time focused on the subject line. But keep in mind that your email subscribers, your email list is getting hundreds of emails a day. So you've got half a second to grab their attention before they hit delete or they, literally just unsubscribe from you. And so I would say write 10 subject lines minimum before picking one, and then test it against another good one. The winner becomes your control. And you can also just segment your audience and split test subject lines so you get a feel of what they actually open. But spend 40% of your time minimum on the subject line, 40% on the first line of the email, and then 20% on everything else. And if that sounds crazy, you're probably just losing money. So definitely check your open rates. If they're doing good, then don't change anything. Obviously don't fix something that's not broken, but subject lines are what is going to get people in the door. Everything else is what carries them through to the CTA. So this is just a breakdown of how you should allocate that time. And your subject line to the first line of your email is a really important bridge, because people click the subject line because of some promise of, whether it's you literally promise something like click this and learn how to XYZ, or if it's just a story or it's some kind of a really intriguing hook, whatever it is. They're clicking it expecting something, and then that first sentence in the email has to deliver on that promise. So you want to make sure that like you don't try and be too clever, you don't try and be too funny, because you're gonna like lose time just trying to come up with like the most creative hook in the world. You just need to get your email opened. Like the goal is to make sales, so focus on being interesting or useful and you're gonna see better results. The job, get the email opened. The first impression, it's like you want to make sure, especially if you're writing a welcome sequence, which we're getting into next, you have to make those emails count. That's the first thing people see. So don't try to be cute and clever. Just literally focus on being useful. And that's going to depend on your audience. Like what is actually something they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis? What is like a problem that's on their mind? What's, like a question or an objection or a fear that they have, and write to those things, because those are things on the mind of your audience. So moving on to some subject line formulas that actually work. And these are just based on emails that I've sent out to my clients, emails that I've sent out to my email list, and emails I've sent out for my clients. And one thing I always like to do is a number subject line. So 3 ways to double your website traffic, stuff like that, or like how Sharon lost 30 pounds in 60 days. It's super concrete. It also is a great like hook for a YouTube video or a school post or like pretty much any other type of social media content, because it's so concrete. It's the same thing we talked about with the offers. The more specific and the more concrete it is, the more people believe it and the more people trust it. So that's one way. Another thing is questions. So that's just going to create like a personal rapport with the reader, because you're asking them a specific question, getting them engaged. So is your marketing costing you money? Or is your weight loss routine, causing XYZ side effect or something like that? Like there's different things that you can just kind of like you can do some research onto your offer, onto your subject matter, and then figure out what is something that is actually on the mind of my audience that I can basically just like create a question out of and turn into like I said, it has to be under 40 characters, but turn into a subject line that's going to be effective. So another one is, are you making this common marketing mistake? Kind of like the question I asked before, but like anything that's on the mind of your audience is going to work really well as a subject line, because they're going to see that and they're going to feel like this is going to help me solve XYZ problem today. So it has to be relevant. That's probably the biggest takeaway from that slide. But so using numbers to grab attention, that's like the example we gave for number 1. An example of this is 3 weird ways I make 50K this week, or 3 weird ways I made 50K this week. This is basically just using a number that is also something that's super desirable to people, super specific, super desirable. That is like a really good combination. And then like provocative questions that basically bug your audience is another great way to get some clicks. So like this one is like you could if you're, let's say you're in like the dating niche, you could just like, there's so many different things you can find that are just on the mind of your audience that you can just this subject line basically just uses a provocative question that creates curiosity and desire to know the answer. So you want to find something that like is a reliable platform that your audience is on. So whether that's Reddit, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether it's school, whatever it is, you want to go on there and then like read their comments, because you can probably find questions that they're actually asking and then just like put them in quotation marks and make that a subject line. I do it all the time and it works like better than almost any other subject line. So like you could ask a question like let's say you're in the weight loss niche, like I'm eating 1,000 calories a day, why am I not losing weight? ? And that could be like in quotations. Or like maybe you're in the make money space and you're like, why do I keep losing money as a day trader or whatever? Like whatever the niche is, ask questions that the audience is wondering. So that's like one way. It's just provocative questions. Call out mistakes that your audience is making. This is another thing that's gonna be super relevant to them. So like, are you making this common marketing mistake was the example we gave for this one. And that just creates a sense of urgency and makes the reader want to find out what they're doing wrong so they can course correct as fast as possible. All right, guys, while we're on the topic of email subject lines, I wanted to show you some live so you can really see how this looks in real life. And this is an awesome website, swipe.co, where you can basically find copy. I just go on here to find copy, to study, and to model, and just to like learn. Get inside the head of the best copywriters, because this is just a compilation of like copywriting from Frank Kern. You'll see like so many, like if you know the copywriting space, you'll see a lot of names in here that you know, like Dan Henry. There's a ton of people in here. So I'm going to start with, let's do this one from Frank Kern, where it looks like he's giving away a free book. So, okay. And the cool thing also, if you guys have never used this website, is it like annotates. It tells you what is good about the copy and kind of breaks it down. So I'm just here to show you guys the actual copy though. So Here he's customized the subject line. So it says, Mike, need your address, please. Smiley face. This is the cool thing about this is like, it's literally exactly the type of subject line a friend would write if they were trying to like find this person's house and like come visit or whatever it is. So that's why it works, is because it literally feels like it's from a friend. So that's one example of a subject line. And then obviously he goes into probably give some value. Yep. So he gives that, gets them to opt in. And then, yeah, he definitely probably has like a sequence that adds them to and then upsells them. All right, let's look at this one. This also looks like it's kind of a casual email subject line. And you're going to see like a lot of people are just optimizing to fall in the inbox and look like they're, you know, just a casual friend reaching out. So this one, did you miss this? ? Again, super simple. There's nothing complex about that. It's probably, you know, it's a simple subject. It may have taken a good amount of thought to come up with, but that is just something you would see, you know, in your inbox, maybe from your dad or whatever. Name what's going on? ? So this is Dan Kennedy. If you guys don't know Dan Kennedy, he's like one of the best copywriters. Will I see you in a few? Like, look at these subject lines. Like, they're very, very simple. Probably there was a fair bit of thought dedicated to them, but they are so simple that they feel like it was just written by a family member or a friend. Look at, okay, very important, all caps, please read. This is like, I mean, that's going to catch your eye in your inbox. Whereas if you go and you look at all of the subjects of like e-commerce brands, those are very like salesy, very cliche. And so you want to avoid that. You don't want to be put into that category because you will probably land in spam most of the time. So let's take a look at some subject lines that aren't so good. All right, so these are some subjects that have fallen into my spam. And you're going to see like a lot of these kind of look the same. Last day, $59 sale, 25 trips to take on 2025. That one's not terrible, 25 trips to take in 2025. But scale smarter, not harder, super cliche. Build a bigger chest this winter without bench pressing. That's not terrible, to be honest, but wrong target market, which is probably why it ended up in my spam, which is why you really want to make sure you're tracking your email open rates and you're getting rid of people that are unresponsive on your emails. Last call up to 40% off, Valentine's Day gifts. Like, these are just super, super like generic. Attention as a first word in your subject line. Like, that's just you have to expect that to get put in spam. Yeah. So last chance, 15% off. It's obvious when it's cliche and potentially even written by AI. Whereas like these ones you're going to see, they're like written like as if a friend. Is my email marketing really dead? This is an example of like the question hook. So we talked about this in one of the first slides, and it's basically just like asking a question that's relevant to the audience. So this is something that they are wondering, like an audience of marketers wants to know if email marketing is still relevant to their clients. So is email marketing really dead is a great subject line because it's actually like something that they probably have thought of. And they're maybe wondering, maybe they heard a friend say something like that and they're like, oh, is that true? So this is something people would actually click on. And yeah, let's look at like one more. Take this money quiz. Let's see what kind of audience it's going to. Take this test. Take this, in quotations, money quiz, see if you get it right. This is a challenge. So a challenge is like something that's kind of hard to walk away from. So that's a good subject. And then follow-up email. The are you stupid test, take it now. That's also like a question that probably builds some intrigue. Like at least it would with me if I got that in my inbox. Like, yeah, I would love to see if I'm stupid. But like asking a question like that, it's just like, it's kind of like a more playful one, but it's the same as the last one we saw where it's just like a question that is going to make the audience want to know the answer. And so it just gets them wondering. So these are some examples of like subject lines. They also work like it kind of doubles across every piece of content. Like a hook for an email could also potentially be a hook for a YouTube video or for an ad, but it's just going to be reformatted slightly based on whatever platform you're putting it on. But yeah, those are some examples. And let's get back into the actual email subject line course. Okay, like we just saw, the best subject lines all sound human. They sound like they were sent from a friend, sent from a family member, but they're just casual. And that's why you have to be careful using AI because AI cannot do that. It's like fundamentally just going to use and repurpose other subject lines. And so it's going to sound cliche. It's going to be based on strategies that probably worked years ago or maybe never worked at all, but it's certainly not going to be unique because that is the nature of AI. So the secret to effective subject lines is to make them sound like they're just like a casual message sent by a real person. to have a promise of intrigue, and to be relevant to the reader. So if it looks like it came from a marketing robot, you're going to have a hard time getting anyone to open it. And so here I'm going to give you guys a basically just like demonstration of how we would edit bad subject lines that are literally, I just took these from my inbox and I put them in here so I can show you guys what it looks like to take a bad subject line and make it relevant to the reader. And I'm just going to do this based on like my profile as a customer, because these are in my inbox, and I'm going to change them to something that like I would actually click on. And I think this would be valuable. But example of like a bad one: last chance, exclusive offer, act now. It just sounds promotional. Like, it sounds pushy, it sounds salesy. It sounds like the objective is to make a buck instead of to actually help the reader. And if the reader feels like they're just being sold to, then like incentives are not aligned. So that's going to get ignored. So President's Day savings, it's just like, I don't know, it's just clearly just a sale. It's just designed to make money. It's not the worst subject line. It's not as bad as the other two. But I would probably change it to something like a surprise, or no, actually, and I'm just coming up with these on the spot. Something like that. My team can't believe I'm giving this away. I always like to do at least like 3 subject lines. So like an alternative would be like, something like that. Okay. Another bad one: last chance, 50% off. This would probably be a similar, like, it's the same thing. They're both like sales. So this one will be interesting because it's different. But this is just like desperate. It just feels like this false sense of urgency that's just been like manufactured. So we want to make it feel more authentic. People are stealing this like crazy. Why is this so popular? Okay. I don't know why that's not showing up yellow, but okay. Snap up great fall fairs. Our schedule is now open. This is, first of all, too freaking long. It didn't even show up in, like, when I was looking at it on desktop, it didn't all show up. So you know it didn't all show up in like mobile. So that's a red flag, first of all. But snap up great fall fairs. Our schedule is now open through November 1st. That sucks. It's like a airlines. So why don't we actually talk about what people want, which is to travel, right? And this was like a fall kind of theme. So, yeah, maybe don't stay home this fall. Or alternative, something like that. A little bit more personalized, a little bit more unique. But yeah, that's kind of like this hook framework really applies to a lot of things, like I've said. So it's not just emails, but now I'm going to dive into a bit more on like specific kinds of emails. So we're going to jump into welcome sequences next. All right, so the specific kinds of emails are really important because they are different objectives. They all have a different goal in mind. So they're going to have a different CTA. They're going to have a different writing style. But you want to know how to write different kinds of emails for your audience, because you shouldn't just be sending promotional emails. You shouldn't, obviously, like a welcome sequence it's just like a one-time automation that you set up and then run forever. So I've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for my clients, over $1 million in revenue in the last 6 months. And I've really honed in my email writing skills, both through my email list and my clients' email lists. And there's quite a few different styles of emails, but there's also quite a few different like goals with emails. So I'm going to dive into that, and I'm actually going to go really in depth on welcome sequences, which I wasn't going to do, but I created this whole presentation that I was just going to put inside a course that I have, and instead I'm going to give it to you guys here for free. So you can actually like steal basically my entire welcome sequence strategy. So I'll dive into that in real depth, but I want to give you guys the full like picture when it comes to different emails. So there's a lot, and there's more than just 7, but these are the main ones you're going to see and the main ones you'll use in your business. So welcome sequences, that's kind of like an onboarding phase for new subscribers on your email list, whether it's through a lead magnet, they join your free community on School, they opt in for something, or they just join your newsletter, whatever it is. So welcome sequences, then there's nurture emails. That's just building rapport, building trust. Promotional emails, making sales. Newsletters, sharing valuable content or potentially even like industry updates. Webinar promotions, those emails are just designed to get people to show up to your webinar. Re-engagement emails, that's designed to reactivate inactive subscribers on your email list. And then broadcast emails, that's just designed to reach a large audience. And it's typically a broader email because it's going out to your entire email list as opposed to just like a segment. Typically, you can just send it to a segment, but that is a more specific kind of broadcast email. It's probably going to be closer to like a promotional email, but welcome sequences are going to have some objectives that you want to hit on the first 7 days. I like to do a 10 series welcome sequence and go through, get like engagement's number 1, and then like value is sort of like what leads to the engagement, but they go hand in hand. So you want to get engagement mostly because you want your emails to land in the primary tab of your subscribers, which we've talked a bit about when it came to the email health. And the value is just like essentially you're solving a pressing problem for new subscribers so that straight off the bat mentally, they're like connotating your brand, your email sending like name, they're connotating everything about you with like solving their problems, and they're way more likely to engage with your email. So getting replies and interaction on that first email is what's really crucial in the just like making sure that that email is falling into the primary tab. So in the placement of your email. But you also just want people to be excited to hear from you because then they're going to build more trust faster and they're going to be more likely to engage. Segmentation, that's just categorizing subscribers based on behavior. We talked about that like in the first segment of this masterclass, and it's just watching what links people click, what they open, because not everyone wants the same thing. Not everyone joined your email sequence for the same reason. Like I guarantee there's probably like at least 10 different reasons people join your sequence, whether it's obvious or not obvious, but you want to make sure that you can subtly separate hot prospects from like the tire kickers and the people that are not going to buy, so that you can target people in a way that's actually still continuing to build goodwill. So that's on the 7-day objectives. And then providing massive value is going to look like free content that you're giving. It's full of resources. It's got, problem solving techniques or strategies depending on your niche. And that should be the focus of your first 4 to 5 emails. And just literally solving people's problems, overcoming objections. And what that's going to do for you later on in the sequence is make the pitch really easy. So there's no hard pitch in these first 4 to 5 emails. You're just letting them kind of fall in love with your content. And then they're warmed up to the point that when you do make a pitch, whether it's directly to a sales page or to a call, they're ready to receive it. And the benefits should just kind of be subtly highlighted. So if you're going through and you're telling stories and you're solving problems for people, you can kind of allude to your service. And then by the time you're at like email 4 or 5, they're probably excited to hear more about it. They want to know like who you are. They want to know who like, or what you offer, how it works. And if your welcome sequence doesn't make people excited to hear from you, you're doing it wrong. So you just want to really build up that excitement and build rapport, be casual, be fun. Like the welcome sequence, again, it like the writing style depends a lot on your niche and who you're writing to, but be authentic to like how you would talk to them on a call. Like think of how you would coach these people if you were on a coaching call with them, or if you were just like chatting with a friend about like whatever your subject matter is. Write like that. Like even if you have to record an audio on your phone in order to capture that conversational tone, do that, because it's so much more relationship focused, and it's going to build a lot of rapport and goodwill with your audience. And then also the quality of the calls will be way better too if you are booking calls. So ask questions in your welcome sequence, have personalized responses, and then segment the content so that you can really like focus on the people that actually want to receive, your product. So nurture emails. This is the next type of emails that strengthen relationships. You're providing valuable content, you're encouraging engagement, and you're building trust. Very similar to a welcome sequence, but these are continued emails that continue to solve problems for people and provide value relevant to your niche. And you can go a little bit outside of your niche, but it just has to somehow have some connection to whatever they opted into your program for. So I have like clients who send out nurture emails, and they have a business audience that opted into their email sequence to learn how to make money, and they send like productivity tips, or they send like self-help resources or info about like upcoming events and stuff. And it's all just value oriented, but it's sometimes slightly different than the niche. It's just related to the wants and desires of most people in that niche. So these should all be about the reader. It's completely focused on them, and you want to start your emails with something actually relatable, especially like nurture emails. You want to make the reader feel like you're in their head, because if you can relate to their problems, they're going to trust you in the future to actually solve those problems. So you want to deliver value that is tailored to those, and then give a lot away for free here. Do not be afraid to give things away for free. If you want a long-term brand and people that love you, your product, your business, goodwill is invaluable. So like you really want to make sure that people are like engaged. If they're getting value, if they're clicking links to go to your content, and you're starting to kind of train them to click your links, then when you do have a CTA to book a call or to buy now, that like subconscious muscle memory of like, oh, this person, like when they send me a link and I click it, I get value. That's like subconsciously ingrained in their mind now. So you're way likely to have a good CTR when you do send them an actual like offer. So when you're doing these nurture emails, you want to do research, and definitely subscribe to competitors' email sequences so you can be studying what they're doing. But understand your audience's needs. Go back and check the comments on social media posts, find inspiration, and really like speak to what is relevant right now. Like if people are like concerned about XYZ thing that's going on, and maybe it's like, maybe you have like a nutrition business in Southern California, and you want to send out an email blast about like the fires or something, how to like protect your lungs or something, I don't know, or protect your skin or whatever. Like you could send something out that's super relevant and just base it off what people are actually talking about. You want to identify for like common excuses and struggles, because those are going to be the objections they bring up on sales calls. And if you can overcome those in the emails first, your close rate is going to be way better. So develop solutions, give them the tools to actually solve their problems so that you've added value before you've asked for anything in return. And then another way to quickly build some trust is actually just use their verbiage. It's also a quick way to lose trust is to use language that they don't use. So observe what they talk about, how they talk about it on Instagram, Reddit, other marketing campaigns, and then integrate those words into your emails. Speak directly to their desires or struggles in their current situation, and then build some rapport and understanding by relating to the reader themselves, and use visual language. Think about like, what is this prospect experiencing on a day-to-day basis, and how can I relate that to my offer? How can I kind of paint a picture? And if you're telling a story, you definitely want to make sure you're using visual language, because people should be watching it in their head like a movie, and they should be able to picture it as if they were in that person, whoever you're telling a story about, if they were in that person's shoes. Because that's when they're going to start to picture themselves buying your product. So grab attention, one that happens with the subject line, then the value proposition, and also like that first line after your subject line has to be another hook. You have to constantly rehook people, because we live in this attention economy where people like have a million different things pulling for their attention. You cannot just hook people once. So you hook them with the subject line, you go in, you hook them again, you give them some value, you present the benefits of your product or service, and then you have a call to action. And we're talking about promotional emails here. So I don't know if I said that, but promotional emails, that's why there's a value proposition. If we're talking about nurture emails, there's not a value proposition there because you're not selling anything. But here, when you're actually going to have a CTA, that's when you need to actually list out what the benefits are and why they should click it. Because a lot of times people just send a link, or they'll insert a CTA into like what's more of a nurture email, and then they insert like a sales button or a book a call button. And it's just like, there's not a proper bridge there. They haven't created any type of value proposition, and so they have a terrible CTR. And so you really need to make sure that there's a bridge there, and the call to action should relate to whatever the value that was presented throughout the email was, or whatever the problem that was discussed was. It shouldn't just be this like really sharp turn off of like the value onto like buy my product. Your product should, number one, be presented in a way that's like clever. Like, oh, if you're dealing with XYZ problem, I just created XYZ solution, get it here. Create some urgency, etc. But you want to make sure that it's not something that's just like an abrupt switch from what the rest of the theme of the email was. So that's promotional emails. And then to grab their attention, like this goes for every email. So I'm just going to kind of say these points broadly, because grabbing attention with promotional emails is very similar to how you would do it for like any type of a webinar email, any type of a even nurture emails, like definitely welcome sequence emails, you have to have a good hook that's like going to immediately grab their attention. We've already talked about that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on there. But telling a story, that's when you can share a personal experience and really build some rapport with people, especially like as you're like in the early phases of your emails. You want to build that credibility, but also build a rapport with the audience. And humans are hardwired to listen to stories. Like we immediately feel like there's a relationship when there's a story involved with the narrator. So you want to share the story that relates to your audience's dreams or frustrations, and then make the promotional message feel like a natural solution rather than a sell. And then agitating the problem, like highlighting pain points they face in vivid visual detail. That's like not just mentioning the problem, not just like stating like this common fact of like, oh, like so many people want to lose weight or everyone wants to hit 10K. Like you want to dig deep into the emotional and practical implications. What does their life look like? You know, maybe they want to make money and currently they're sleeping on their mom's couch, driving to a job that they hate every day in a car that's like, you know, falling apart or whatever. And you want to paint a picture of what it looks like, what it'll look like in years from now if they don't take action to solve that solution. So that's a really powerful way to sort of build some urgency in a story. And then don't be weak in your pitch. Like have confidence. Whatever product or service you're offering should actually be something your audience needs. And so have confidence and let the lead borrow your confidence to know that they will get results. And then obviously that value proposition, clearly communicate the value of your products. And you want to stack 10 times the value compared to what you're charging, and then layer on case studies, guarantees, and tons of urgency. And we talked about the value equation, Alex Hormozi's value equation. So this again, like keep this in mind with your proposition in a promotional email. Like what's that dream outcome? Have you clearly painted it in the email? Have you made it feel like it's something that's very likely they'll achieve, and then eliminated time, delay, and effort and sacrifice as much as possible? That's a high value offer. So the frequency of your promotional emails is like a science. It's crucial to get this right, because like you can start to like increase unsubscribe rates and like increase or decrease your engagement rates if you're oversending promotional content. So you don't want that to happen. You want to be more leaning on the value side and just balancing value and promotions for an effective campaign, because goodwill stacks long term. So prioritizing goodwill and not oversending promotional emails is going to lead to so much more sales in the future. Like if you look at Alex Hormozi, for years he didn't have anything that he was promoting, and he still doesn't really promote too much, but he makes a lot of money now with his events and the different things that he's done with school and stuff. And it's because he built so much goodwill with the audience. He wasn't chasing a sale. He wasn't worried about having a CTA in his organic content. And that gave him so much leverage and also like a ton of value to other companies if he were to endorse someone. So if you are just focused on adding value to your audience, long term, it's going to open more doors, and it's going to allow you the freedom to pivot if you need, because you have that loyal following that's going to follow you regardless of what direction you take your business in. So yeah, so that's kind of the equation of value there. Tracking your email. So we've talked about tracking results, open rates. That's a massive one. Like, are your subject lines even getting people to open them? You want to monitor which emails get open the most. Subjects with high open rates signal that your audience finds something interesting. So take note of those. Have like a personal swipe file, and then analyze the click-through rates. Like, when are people actually engaging with your content? Because that's going to give you a little bit of information, not just on like, is this a good way to present my CTA, but also, is this even a CTA that my audience cares about? Because maybe they don't want to book a call. Maybe they just want to buy now, or maybe they don't want a freebie. Maybe they just want to, hop on a call, or maybe they don't want to join a community or whatever. You have to figure out, what do they actually want? And then either determine, do I need to change my product, or do I need to change my targeting to get an audience that does want what I offer, or potentially just change what you offer. But conversion rates are the ultimate thing. So tracking the actions your audience takes after reading your emails, like purchases, signups, any type of desired behavior that you've called them to do, that's the ultimate thing. That's really going to tell you what, like, and then you can reverse engineer it to figure out like, where did we drop off if the conversion rate is bad. But ultimately, that's the biggest sign if your emails are properly promoting your service. All right. And then newsletters, another type of email. I don't use these a ton. I don't think a lot of people do, but it depends on like what you categorize as a newsletter. But you can use like personal stories in your newsletter. You can just share updates. You can share your journey, kind of use it as like a diary. People will subscribe to that. I mean, some people even pay for newsletters, and it's just another way for you to reach your audience, but it is more value oriented. This is where you're going to want to do some research too, like expert insights. You're going to do research here so that your newsletters are valuable, not just because they're coming from you, not just because you have a cool product and you think your business is awesome, but because there's some kind of information in your newsletters that the audience cannot find in other places. And that requires you to do some due diligence. And if you want to be seen as an expert, you need to be providing insights that are not just valuable, but also unique. All right. So keep them relevant. Don't try and just like find something that's like unique just because you have to send out a weekly newsletter. Like, I guarantee you can find something unique every week to send out to your audience. But if you don't, for some reason, one week, find something unique, don't just send an email just to send it. It would be better if you just sent nothing. You want to only write stuff that's actually helpful. And then like, if your content's good, the audience is going to naturally engage with it. They're going to click, they're going to do whatever it is that you have a CTA to do at the end, and give them things they can actually implement immediately. So whatever you're solving for, or whatever you're talking about or teaching in the newsletter, give them some action steps at the end. That's like something I use in all of my emails and posts, especially on schools, like action steps, because it's great to be like a thought leader. It's great to give people some opinions and some ideas, but if you don't actually give them action steps to take, what was the point of that? Like, if they cannot leave that piece of content, leave that browser tab or whatever, and go and actually do something and change like their current situation, then like that value is actually useless. So you have to give them some type of, it doesn't have to be like the way I do it, where I like literally list out like, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. I like to do that because it's really clear, but like something that's actionable, even if it's like an indirect CTA to take action on it, that's going to keep them coming back to your newsletters, because they're going to actually start to see a difference in their life based on the content you provide. So that's huge. And then another type of email, webinar promos. So this is building anticipation for a webinar. You're highlighting the value of actually attending your webinar. You're explaining the benefits of participating. And again, remember the difference between benefits and features. So you want to explain the benefits of participating and then showcase the expertise of like yourself, or if you have multiple presenters. The goal of webinar promos is just to get people to actually join your webinar. So high attendance shows that your content is relevant. It shows that like people are excited to learn from you. It shows that you're like a leader in the industry, but mostly it just shows that you did a good job with your promotional emails, ads, and posts. So there's a lot of different ways you can get people to actually attend your webinar. But starting with a good sequence that as soon as they opt in or as soon as they register, they're getting some rapport built. You're creating urgency, so they actually put the webinar in their calendar, building trust, and then when you host a webinar, people show up. Now, the goal, like I said, get people to attend. You're only going to do that if you can just basically communicate the value, highlight why they should participate. Maybe it's something that like they can only exclusively get on the call. And then a super clear call to action. It literally should just be like, save the webinar, put it in their calendar, give them a direct Zoom link so they're not just like going back to the webinar registration link. And then like building urgency. One way you can do this is limited seats. Zoom will only allow 100 members in. Don't be one of the people that gets locked out like last time. I wouldn't lie about this though. Like, if you have more than 100 seats in your Zoom like subscription or whatever it is, then I would just be honest about that, but create some type of urgency. A deadline, obviously, like a deadline for registration. Maybe you say like closes 48 hours before, so register now. That's if you're still promoting registration. And then the early bird benefit, I like to tell people like get there early so they can make sure they can either ask an extra question or just secure their spot. That is something that tends to work well, because if people are getting there early, they're remembering like, okay, this is this day, they start to plan it more, and the more like subconscious planning they're doing in their head, the more likely they are to actually show up. It's a shocker. Audience. So often you send emails out to your entire list, and these can serve a multitude of purposes. So like we're talking about some broadcast emails now, where like, as with all your emails, you want to make sure the content is actually valuable before you send it, and that you have a clear intention behind it. But these are going to go to a broader audience. So the content is probably going to be broader. Maybe there's breaking industry news. You have a limited time opportunity, a massive, immediately actionable piece of value, like, and it has to be something applicable to everyone on the list. Critical update, or something that's like, changing your offer that affects this audience, or maybe some big event or workshop that you would like to invite everyone to. They're basically like the same as other emails. They just go out to your entire list. And what makes a killer broadcast email is a super clear purpose. One goal, one call to action, one core message, and a clear, concise email is more effective than one that tries to do too much. So massive value, urgency that feels real. So like time-sensitive information, actual deadlines, genuine scarcity. So not just like this like artificial manufactured scarcity. People can smell that from a mile away. You want to make sure that urgency is real and people can tell. And the way you do that is you just justify it. So like if you say there's only 100 spots, why is there only 100 spots? Because your Zoom account limits you to 100 spots, whatever it is. Or maybe because you feel like you can only give enough value to 100 people, or you can only answer questions from 100 people. Whatever it is, like you can justify it, and that is what is going to build trust in the audience, and it's going to make it feel real. And then be honest, like no fluff. You don't need direct, or you don't need like to create all this like motivational fluff around your offer. Like just use direct language, treat them like intelligent humans, be honest, straightforward in your messaging. People really appreciate that. And when not to send broadcast emails, don't just like send filler content out. This is like what I said before at the beginning of this. Like if you don't have something new to share, you don't have something unique to share, it's better just to not send an email and to preserve like your domain health, but also the rapport with your email list. Because if you start sending stuff that's like not valuable, people just either unsubscribe or like mentally write you off. So don't send emails without like a clear purpose or valuable content for your audience. You want to actually provide a solution. Prioritize your audience's needs over self-promotion. So prioritize whatever is going on in their life, current events, be sensitive to that stuff, and focus on providing value and addressing concerns before you pitch. And yeah, like we said, avoid artificial urgency. So, okay. Now, we're going to move into the welcome sequences, like I said, where we actually dive into how to write a welcome sequence. And these are things that like they will set, like these welcome sequence emails will set you up for either a really great relationship with your audience or a not so great relationship. So you want to get these right. All right. So like I said, this was something that was designed as a course module. So it is designed for school communities. These apply to every welcome sequence that I personally write, these principles. So it should be relevant even if you don't own a school community, if you're a coach, if you're an online business owner, even if you're in e-commerce, like you can use these principles and apply them to your welcome sequence. And it's really just like, it's the formula to build a relationship and to basically just make a really good first impression, ultimately like just converting your free members into paying clients. So powerful welcome sequence, first impressions matter. It's your chance to make a good impression, set the tone for the member's journey, and influence their decision to stay engaged. So you really want to make sure that like whatever reason they joined your email list, you're delivering on it here, and you're building trust early on. And you're going to build trust early on by actually just doing what you say you're going to do. It's like the simplest thing. Whatever you said you were going to do in your ad, in your content, whatever it was, deliver on that. Showcase your expertise and foster that sense of community and rapport. And the welcome sequence should take people through this persuasive journey and basically just subtly overcome every potential objection they could have before they ever even have a chance to jump on a sales call. And if you're not using emails, by the way, like we just talked about them for the last like hour, so you're probably using them or you're going to, but like if you're not, you're sitting on a pile of gold. And like think about the risks that come with other types of audiences and content. Like I always like to think about this. If you're posting on Instagram or you're posting on YouTube, like you're relying on an algorithm. You could have your account hacked, you could get shut down, your video could get taken down, whatever it is. You don't have complete control or authority with that. And your email, you actually own those emails. You control them. Even if like, let's say your Gmail got shut down or your domain health got ruined, like you could still export that list and start emailing them from a different email. So you can print money with that if you use it right. And you want an engaging introduction. So email one, like you really want to have a personal touch on this. You want a warm message. It's got to feel personalized. It has to address the member by name and express genuine excitement about them joining. So set some expectations so they know what to expect going forward in the next, whether it's 7 days, whether you have a 21-day sequence, whatever it is. I've written emails for clients, like welcome sequences that are anywhere from 4 emails long to like 25 emails long. So there's a massive range. I think we'll get into like the length a bit more, but there's definitely some correlation between the price point of your offer and the CTA / like objective of that sequence. So set expectations. So clearly outline the purpose and the benefits of your community. Especially if, so like this is for a school community, obviously, but like if it's just a newsletter or maybe it's a blog or whatever it is, like you want to outline the benefits, or if it's just an offer at this point, you're just building relationships with them so that like they know what to expect from like participating in this sequence. And that first email should remind them why they joined in the first place. So good subject line. Use a shocking study, counterintuitive claim. Like if you challenge an assumption, that's a great way to hook someone, by the way, on any platform. Powerful stories where you're relating to the reader, sharing experiences. that's a great way to hook people. But now your goal is to start getting calls booked / sales made throughout the sequence. So give them what they opted in for immediately, get them to reply. So you're, increasing the health of your email. And then you want to make sure that you're starting to overcome the objections. So most school communities, you want to give them a lead magnet first. And this goes honestly for most welcome sequences. I think a lot of people opt in for a lead magnet that's advertised either in a cold traffic campaign or on, a YouTube video or whatever. And you want to give them that first. And then any CTA to book a call in 80% of your emails, or any CTA at all will be to book a call in 80% of your emails. You're not going to be doing like a direct sales email probably until the end. So this is how I like to structure it. A welcome email delivers promised content, 0 to hero email. That's basically just building credibility for you. And then problem-aware emails, solution-aware emails, product-aware emails, social proof emails, hard pitch email. I like to do way more than like just 7 emails though. So you're sharing the transformations of both you and your clients in order to build credibility and trust. Then you want like those product-aware emails to really differentiate your product from other companies in the same market. And yeah, obviously this journey is like it's gonna look different for people that jump in your email list at different points. Some of them might be super product aware. Some of them may have no idea even what the problem is, but you want the emails to cover all these things and do it in a way that is engaging so that the people that are product aware are not like getting lost in the process. If your email is relatable and engaging and not super, super long, then you're going to still be able to keep those people that are maybe a little bit farther in the customer journey. But okay. So first here, we want to break down how long your welcome sequence should be. So a 5 to 14 day sequence is a sweet spot for most businesses because it's long enough to build rapport. It's long enough to go through some objections. It's long enough to build a little bit of a back and forth engagement and demonstrate some value, but not so long that people are getting bored. Under 5 days, you're rushing the relationship. Over 14 days, you're either taking a strategy of nurturing a ton, like sell directly through email, or you want to just provide a ton of value to justify the length. But the sequence length should match your price point and complexity. So a $47 product, shorter sentences, shorter emails, shorter sequence. But a $2,000 $2,000 coaching program is going to be a longer sequence. So you got to start by identifying the audience's problems, solve those problems sequentially, identify objections, overcome objections, and have a CTA for booking a call. So the reason why the email sequence changes is because the objections for a $2,000 offer are going to be a lot more than the objections for a $40 offer. So that's going to determine a lot of like the actual length and makeup and the amount of problems that your emails address. And email 1 is where the trust is built. So you want to deliver on that promise, like I said, whether it's a template, free training, strategy call, a resource, or just some type of value related to the niche of your community. This email doesn't have to be a CTA. It can, but if it is, it should just be a CTA to like more value. And then it should set the tone for the rest of the sequence. So set the stage for what's to come in the following emails and allude to the problems that you're going to solve or value you're adding, but you don't like overwhelm them. Show them what they can expect and gain in the future so that they want to open the next email, but you're not necessarily breaking down every single one of the emails that are about to come. And then to help with the deliverability, like we said, get the reader to actually respond. You could say something like, send me a question, type random letters, or just let me know you saw this, and show your email provider that the client is engaged with your content. Next, establishing trust and credibility. So highlighting some expertise. This is where you're going to share your relevant experience, your story. Maybe it's like, this crazy story of where you were living on your mom's couch and you couldn't even afford ramen noodles. So now you're, making $20,000 a month and you drive a really nice car or whatever. But you're demonstrating something that the reader wants and something that they can relate to, and in sequential order so that like it's relating to them and then painting the picture of where they want to be. And then showcase some of the core values and principles that guide the community. Like, it's not like this has to be like a letter like you're sending to your, your employees or like your shareholders or something, but like just showcasing the values of your community in the first email, I think, and the second one as well, of just kind of like what you stand on, what you believe in. That's like really crucial to set like a cultural tone, especially for a school community. So I like to use email 2 to share the 0 to hero story. This just basically establishes your authority, like we said. So you could start with a hook that's either the lowest point or the highest point of your story. For example, 6 months ago, I was homeless. That's a really good hook. Or you could start with a hook like, I make $45,000 every month and I don't even have one employee. Also a good hook. And that could be the same person, just different points in their story. So next, you're going to build some belief by sharing your struggles, which is just showing the reader that you're not special. You didn't have any special advantage or anything different. And you want to maintain a super conversational tone throughout this email, as if you're just like telling your story to a friend. And again, like another hack to do this is to literally just use a voice note to write the email so that you're saying it as if you're just pretend you're on the phone with a friend. But the 0 to hero story flow, you have the low point hook where it's shocking or vulnerable or, something that's just going to grab their attention. And then you go through the trials and tribulations. This should overcome a lot of their objections, details like the previous failed attempts. And then you go through like the victory, your current situation, which should be their dream outcome, and then have a soft call to action, potentially like a call or, get more information here, something like that. But I wouldn't make it like a hard pitch. So that's that flow. And then the next type of emails, now that your audience is aware of their problem, we need to actually educate them on the solution. So there's no perfect length for the welcome sequence, but this portion may be longer if you have like a very high ticket offer. So you want to relate to a specific pain point. Here's where we're going to allude to the transformation that the paid offer delivers and highlight the process that if you have a free school community or some free content or resources, highlight the process that your free community gives them currently. And this subject should be pain or dream focused, relatable to something they're currently feeling, and just make it instantly grab the reader's attention with some type of gut punch sentence that relates to a specific trouble or a specific struggle and alludes to a mini story or a shocking statement. Those are things that are just like, they're enticing, they're exciting because they promise like some more kind of like juicy drama or some more solution or whatever it is. And now getting into the meat of the email, this is where you're going to continue to build on the intrigue that your email subject has created. So you have this shocking story or a mini story or a shocking statement or a mini story, and then you want to actually build on that and double down in that first sentence and amplify the problem. So describe the exact problem they're facing, showcase the consequence of not solving it. For example, Susan knew without a fitness plan, she'd face the same fate her parents had suffered, type 2 diabetes. Okay, so now you've got like some kind of like enticing intro, and that's the dark sort of like nightmare outcome if they don't take action. So you paint the future nightmare scenario, make it visceral and relatable, and then go into the solution. So you could also just skip to painting the dream, where you start with a solution mechanism introduction, present your unique approach. You don't fully reveal the solution, you sort of just allude to it. And then you build some curiosity. And then an example here is like, that's when I showed her the 3-step method, and then, XYZ happened and she solved all of her problems, basically. Like, that's kind of where you're going to go and you're going to paint the dream. But no matter what, if you skip to the dream outcome or if you start with the dark kind of future scenario, you definitely want to paint the consequences of not taking action. So this is alluding to the consequence of not taking action, but it doesn't actually paint the picture. You want to paint the picture. You want to talk about what it looks like and highlight the problems that your offer solves. So this could be in the same email or in the next couple emails, but you're using visual language to relate to the reader's current situation and just paint a picture with your words and then provide enough value to solve one in a series of problems. So you just want to solve one problem per email and then allude to the next problem at the end of the email. So highlighting the problems that your offer solves, like for a make money niche, it might be like help get their website set up. You help them pick their offer. You help them launch a marketing campaign. You help them find their first customer. You help them write a sales script, whatever it is. But you're going to have to overcome a bunch of problems before you do that. One of them maybe being like confidence in the offer, not knowing if their offer is good enough. And the next problem is, okay, how do I build a website around my offer? How do I put my offer or my website in front of people? How do I make my first sale? So you have to overcome all those things in a sequence and do them one at a time. Because if you try to solve all those problems in one email, it would just be so overwhelming. So solution-aware emails, building trust and value. You're gonna start with a negative hook, mentioning a negative consequence of trying to do a different solution, and then elaborate on that. Describe the negative consequence of this alternative solution. Then present the solution. Introduce a better option, which is gonna be your product. Soft CTA, nudge towards your landing page. And then the benefits and future pacing is just list out a bunch of the benefits provided by your product and then what their life is going to look like because of that solution. So the CTA then should just direct them to your landing page or your school about page or whatever it is that you're promoting. And this is where you leverage the trust you've built. So this entire welcome sequence, you've just been building rapport, adding value, solving problems, and showing why you're different. And this is when people like actually believe you because you've spent 5 to 10 emails just helping them. So the product aware emails showcase your solution's excellence. Why are you different? Why should they buy from you as opposed to like, Joe Smo down the street that's also sending them emails? So you have to do some comparison. This is like a tough part of the sequence. You have to capture attention by highlighting unique benefits of your product, but really like focus on their problem still. And then the comparison is where you clearly explain how your product stands out from competitors. So you can just focus on the results, the process, the price, or whatever it is that sets your product apart. And then the CTA is going to help readers take the next step, whether it's visiting an about page or scheduling a free call with you or your team or whatever. That's where you're going to take that next step. And we're getting to the end of the email sequence. So we're in the last couple emails, but you've already built rapport. You've already established your credibility, overcome objections, added value to your audience, stacked goodwill, given them a million reasons to buy, and now it's time to sell. So crafting persuasive emails that convert with confidence and authority is going to be a combination of these strategies. So you earn some confidence, you sell with conviction and assurance. Scarcity and urgency are just going to get them to take action right now, like we talked about. Established or authority, that's what should have happened earlier in the email, but if you reiterate that story again, you bring it back to the top of mind. Direct references, linking past teaching to the paid offer. So throughout the whole sequence, you've been teaching them stuff, so you now reference back to those things and then help them make that decision. So encourage decisive action over further education. Ultimately, we live in a world where people want to be so overeducated on everything, and the biggest skill you can have is just the ability to make decisions. It's crazy how many people literally just opt not to make decisions. I think this is just a little side tangent, but I think that's why so many people go to college, is because they basically remove themselves from the decision-making sphere and just put it in the hand of their professor and hope that it works out, or the hand of society almost, because it's the default route is to go to college. So if you go that route, then it's kind of you've opted out of having to call your own shots and have your own company resting on your decisions and whatnot. But I digress. So the email formula, 85% should be pure value. And that just means you're educating, helping your members. 3/4 of the emails can be a soft CTA. And then 40% plus open rates. You want to spend 80% of your time on the hook and the subject. So if they never click, they never see the rest, they never see the CTA. And at least 80% of your time should be spent on those two sentences, one being the hook, one being the first sentence of your email. So, all right, we just went over this. And nurturing new members. Remember, if you actually add value and you solve problems for free in this welcome sequence, it just proves that your offer is valuable, because you've already solved problems for free. So what's going to happen now if they go and pay you? That's what's going through their mind. They're okay, this person is giving me so much for free. What if I just go pay them? So you want to encourage engagement as well, a sense of belonging, writing personalized emails that relate to the reader. It's going to spark more interaction, call bookings, and then hot leads long term. So it's not just for your email deliverability. It's also just for the fact that they will take more action on your emails if you have engagement. So maximum engagement in your welcome sequence. You want to really space out sales pitches, mostly just having a pitch at the end and soft pitches in between. Build trust first, prioritize trust to enhance the long-term customer loyalty. Use storytelling. That's just the most engaging way to write to people, and probably the hardest as well. And then address awareness levels. So you want to tailor all these messages to the different audience awareness stages. All right, moving on to the next. Driving action. So the CTA should feel like it's a favor. It's a gift. Introduce the concept of a discovery call, or it could be a free it's not going to be a free resource probably for the CTA, unless you're just sending them to content potentially with a CTA. That could work. But probably going to have a call here, or you're just having a buy link, one or the other. And you want to help the members get the most out of that CTA. So it should solve one of the problems you've already addressed. And ideally, all of the problems you've already addressed are part of one bigger problem that the CTA solves. So schedule ease. You want to make booking a call as simple as possible. You want to make it so easy so you're not losing people in that process. And remind people to book multiple times throughout the email. So one CTA is not enough. You need hyperlinked text all over. Maybe add a button, copy the link directly. Just have a couple different CTAs. And then track performance. Use analytics to track the key metrics, open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, etc. And make sure that emails are getting open. And if not, maybe have some split testing even built into your automation where you can test different email subjects. My email welcome sequence uses a bunch of different email subjects for the emails to make sure that it's nurturing an audience, but it's also figuring out what they really want. Because if people are not opening my emails and I split test a few emails on them, they're still not opening, I'm probably just going to take them off the list to protect my email health. But you can iterate and improve and refine that welcome sequence based on that data and those insights, so that you're constantly making adjustments and enhancing that effectiveness, and you just have to track it. That's the biggest key. It's people want the golden ticket to how to write the best email or how to write the best sequence. But ultimately, if you just write one and you track it and you test it and you split test and you try different things, that's how you're going to create the best sequence, because it's different for every audience. And unless you iterate it and you're willing to make changes and just watch what the audience is doing, then that's the only way you're going to come up with a perfect sequence. So that's everything on welcome sequences. Now we're going to move on to one more component of writing emails. All right, so we've talked a lot about email subject lines and how to write hooks in emails that are going to get people to click, how to continue to hook them in the email. But now we're going to talk a little bit about how that transfers to different platforms. So catching the eye of someone on Facebook or Instagram with an ad that stands out without being, disregarded as just another ad is a little bit different than an email subject line, although there's a lot of the same principles behind writing a good hook. So I'm going to just kind of tie in the differences between emails, social media posts, and ads here, and kind of just go through what the main key differences are and how to optimize for both. So the paradox with Facebook is that it's a social platform. It's also an advertising goldmine. So the social nature of Facebook means that people are just there to connect. They're there to unwind. They're probably there to watch some entertaining content or connect with their friends or whatever. But it's also a great place to reach a lot of users. And if you do it right, you can actually build trust by the nature of the platform. So just making sure my mic is on. The paradox is that your ad actually does have to feel natural, not some big I don't know, if you think of an ad, it's big bold letters saying sale now with a red ticket on it, and it's got bags or whatever. It's got big bold, it's going to feel like a billboard. So you want your ad to feel like something a friend would post, something casual. And that's going to be totally different based on the niche that you're in. So I have some examples I'm going to go through. But just keep in mind that you have a massive resource in just going onto the Facebook ads library and researching what people are doing. I'm by no means an ad expert, but I'm just going to share some of the things that I've seen work. So the headline hacks, you want to craft something that's going to stop people from scrolling to the next thing. And like I said, it's a social platform. So if your ad isn't entertaining or it doesn't meet whatever intention they came onto the app for, they're probably not going to stop scrolling. They're going to go to the next thing and see if they can find something more entertaining. So you want to keep it short, make it snappy and easy to read, solve a problem, and ask a question. That's another way. You're not always going to do all three of these things, but it's a great way all of these are great ways to hook people. So this ad here calls out the target audience, business owners and entrepreneurs, who will place a proven executive assistant in your business, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. What this ad is missing, and it's probably in the actual copy below, is the problem it solves. So why do people want an executive assistant? Because that's sort of more the process. And you want to talk about the actual end result here. So a better hook would probably be business owners and entrepreneurs, are you tired of doing XYZ? Maybe it's are you tired of sending out your own emails? Or are you tired of filtering leads? Or are you tired of taking discovery calls? And then you talk about the solution. We're going to implement an executive assistant to take all of XYZ problems off your plate. And if they don't perform, you don't pay. That would be a way better hook. But anyways, you see the good part about this, and the point of me including this, was how it calls out the target audience. Body copy secrets. So you want to make sure that there's a lot of white space in the body copy of your ad. And that goes for your email as well, and value bombs. So don't cram the text, use space and maybe even emojis to keep it scannable. And by scannable, I mean people are just going to glance at your ad and they have to be able to comprehend the idea of it without doing a ton of reading. So clear value, quickly promise the value of your offer in the first sentence and speak to one avatar. The ad in the previous slide, it's one avatar. It's a pretty broad avatar, but it is one. So your ad needs to deeply resonate with that perfect client. And then use simple fourth grade language. So short, easy words. You don't need, a 7-letter word in there. Short words that everyone uses. Punchy sentences, keep them short, action-oriented, and easy to follow, and no jargon. We already talked about that a million times, so I'm not going to go over it. But look at these hooks. Warning, followers are a lie. Ever notice top coaches don't obsess over likes and comments? Those are good hooks because they kind of go against the grain. So they're going for this kind of controversial hook strategy, and then they're going to present the alternative solution that they probably offer in their product. Bullet points. So you want to go through and list out some value, especially depending on what the next step in your funnel is. The more action-oriented it is, you want to have there be some type of a value stack that's going to make them really want what it is that you solve, whatever you offer them, whatever solution you promise. List the benefits and show people what they'll get. Offer, some details, explain how each benefit is going to clearly relate to a reaction in their life. And then make the bullets really easy to scan. So you'll see an example right here, tired of feeling stuck, ready for a breakthrough. The problem with this ad is actually the offer. So they did a good job. They used some emojis, created a value stack, but the offer itself is not super desirable. So yeah. And then blending in, make the ads feel organic on Facebook. You got to know the platform, watch what users post, and make your ad feel familiar to the audience. So I can't tell you what to do for this creative because it's going to be different for every single audience. Every single audience is going to have a different avatar or a different algorithm based on what their interests are. So you want to know not just the platform itself, obviously Facebook, you got to know Facebook, but you have to know your avatar and what are they actually seeing on their feed? What are they looking at? What are they looking up? What are they interested in? And how can you blend in and speak casually so that it feels like a normal post? It feels like something that like they would read from a friend. And then don't be too salesy or forceful. Just, be straightforward, be honest. Show your face. That's like another way to get really good. Like the best creatives, this goes for LinkedIn as well. And I would argue YouTube, I would argue most social platforms are going to promote you more when you show your face because it's relatable, it builds trust, shows that you're human, you're not AI, and you just connect better with your audience. So they trust your face a lot more than a logo for sure. And then it builds like more trust in an ad because it's kind of like you're a testament to whatever your product is. It makes you feel more relatable, helps readers connect better with you, and it also just gives a face to your brand. So this is another example. Apply online today. This is someone that's, they've got their face in it. They're also holding up something from the university. Earn your bachelor's in science business. I'm guessing based on this creative, the target market is probably a bit older, but I could be wrong. They could be targeting a younger audience, but also like targeting parents to get them in college. But this looks like it's something like get your degree after you've already had a career. You want to ditch the cliches. So original ads, like it's like a tough balance because you also don't want to reinvent the wheel. So the best way to do it is go and find what your competition is doing, model them, and then like split test with tweaks so you can figure out what's your unique angle, get some fresh ideas, and then stand out. Avoid overused images and phrases. Use fresh ideas to grab attention, show off your brand's original style, and ultimately that's just going to help you stand out from the crowd. So spying on success. This is like what I was just mentioning. So you find ads, you see trends, and then you model what's working. You can really easily do this by going on Facebook ads library and just seeing what ads have been running for a while. So check out what's been on there, what's active for over a month, and then model that and make tweaks and split test different headlines so that you can figure out what your unique angle is. So these are some examples. These ads have been running for over a month. And then I've got a couple more, and these also have question hooks. So that's another example of a hook that's just going to engage the reader. Build trust with testimonials. So you can also run like a testimonial as an ad, awards like who you've worked with, stats of like results that you've gotten for people. It's just going to build confidence in your product. And this is another crucial step, is that your call to action is a natural step from your ad, or like whatever the next step in the funnel is, it has to be in unison with the language that you used on the ad. So for example, this guy, his ad hook is the ultimate human vertical cold plunge is now. I don't know if it's supposed to be like it's out now, but then it aligns. If you click the link, it's get $1,000 off cold plunges. So it aligns very well. He probably could have like put that promotion right here, like the $1,000 sale is live now for vertical cold plunges, and it would have aligned even better. But it tells people what to do next and ensures that the process is very straightforward. They don't feel like they click the ad and they land somewhere else. Like a terrible ad that I get all the time is for Poshmark, and it's an ad of like a dress or a shirt or whatever, because Instagram knows me so well. I love shopping for clothes. And I'll get that ad and I'll click it and it takes me to the app store to download the app. Instead of just taking me, like Poshmark has a website. They could just take you to the website, to the listing. But instead they advertise that. They get you to click, you download the app, and then you can't even find the product. So that's a terrible sequence of steps. You want to make sure that the promise is aligned to the landing page, and then that whole experience of obviously the product has to be aligned with the landing page and the sales call and whatnot. But everything has to match the previous step. Creates a smooth experience, leads to happier users, more trust, and you want happy customers. So the formula for success is starting with a strong headline, grab attention right away, a strong creative that blends in and doesn't feel like an ad, clear avatar so that you can call out that ideal customer, credibility and value to show why you're the best, what sets you apart from competition, and then a CTA that makes sense and is in sequence with the previous step. So that's the keys to ad mastery and like just writing for like that type of content as opposed to an email. But you'll notice that a lot of the things when it comes to the hook and the headline is the same as with emails. Like an email, you have a promise in the subject that you deliver on in the first line and then you build throughout. An ad, you have a promise in the headline and a promise in the copy that you deliver on in the next step of that funnel sequence. So really, really crucial that those all align and that you're using language that feels super natural. But yeah, that's it on ads. Now we're going to move on to the next segment. All right, so we were just talking about landing pages, so it's only appropriate that we go through and we do a deep dive on them. So you want to turn lookers into buyers here. Crafting sales pages that convert is what we're going to talk about, and basically just capturing the leads, boosting the sales, growing your online business. These are like really, really simple to create. I think a lot of people overcomplicate sales pages. So I've just like put a picture of one of my sales pages, and this is a book a call page. So super simple CTA. You'll see I call out the perfect avatar in that like subheading. Then I have a heading that has a promise, right? And then I have a CTA to watch this VSL, book a call, some value stacking, and then it's just book a call again. Okay, so there's two types of sales pages. The one I just gave was an example of a book a call page for a high ticket offer, and that's just focusing on lead capture and conversion in the next step. So it's got compelling content, a clear value proposition, but the actual conversion is going to happen in step 2 when they actually book the call. Now, a direct sales page, I have one of these as well, that's designed to close the deal immediately. It has a strong CTA, testimonials, guarantees, and probably more case studies, probably some more objection handling, because you want to close them on that page without them getting on a call. So it's probably, like, based on what I've seen, going to be a longer process there. So let's break it down, though, because they have a lot in common. The headline has to grab attention with, I would recommend a massive, like, font size, large attention-grabbing font size where the headline is just impossible to mix or miss. That should be the first thing. Like, you want to map out what the reader should look at, like in sequence on your sales page. So the first thing that should catch their eye is the headline, and then their eyes should kind of gravitate up to the call out. And the colors that you use on your page are crucial. So I actually did some research recently, and turns out that like lighter backgrounds are a lot better for just like comprehension overall, for like the readability of a page. So a white background with black text is way, way better than a like black background with white text. And it's funny because like the example I gave you guys, this is how I used to build all of my sales pages: black background, white text. And I love like the aesthetic of it. But I'm actually going to start changing that because like the data I saw was such a massive difference. So yeah, that's like when it comes to layout, you want to be really intentional with the colors and just the layout, the graphics you use, and then communicating the offer really clearly. It does not need a lot of words. You don't need paragraphs. Just explain what the customer will gain in bullets/graphics. And that's pretty much it on like the actual layout. Concise headlines are huge. So solid promise, and like avoid ambiguity. You don't want a vague headline that's just like, do you want to like feel your best self? And then it like turns out it's a weight loss offer. Cause like you could have just said, do you want to lose 10 pounds in the next 30 days? And that would have been super clear. So confidently claim whatever the benefit you deliver to your customers. And then be brief. Shorter headlines are more likely to be comprehended. So under 10 words is best. And then get specific. Use numbers and promises for impact. For example, like get 500 plus leads in 30 days. That's a specific timeline and a very specific end result. So that's 2 wins there. And it's very clear what you're helping them do. So knowing your audience, your ideal customer avatar, that's going to allow you to really target them with that headline and the sub-headline, and then solve for their pain points. So specific problems, you want to target your messaging to resonate with that avatar and solve those specific problems. And then the one audience, like, yes, you need an ideal customer avatar, but then you need to just target that ideal customer avatar. Just focus on that one niche and avoid like the broad targeting, because you will lose your ideal avatar if you focus on broad targeting. So quantifiable offers. Show, don't tell. Use numbers to showcase your end result. And then concrete value. Provide a clear, measurable outcome so customers know what they get. And here's an example. Increase conversions by 30% in 60 days, or generate 1,000 leads with our email templates. Those are some examples. They use numbers. They have clear verbiage. These are objective terms. There's no subjective language here. And that's why they're so effective. So get absolutely ripped in 30 days. Ripped is a subjective word, so that could be improved in this headline. But otherwise, it's pretty clear. And then it goes through, it's got a value stack. It talks about the problems, relates to the reader. And then it's got a freebie, it looks like, or no, $19.99. So it's got a low ticket sale on the page. And even though this is most likely an ebook, they've laid it out as if it was a physical book. And you'll see most people that have ebooks do that. Like they will, on the sales page, present it as like a physical book because it's just a more tangible offer. So that's just like a random detail that I find really entertaining. But simplicity is key. So white space, clear fonts, concise copy. We've already talked about those, but let's look at like Russell Brunson's sales page because it covers all these things we've just chatted about. So The 3-step framework he's used to sell literally anything online without hiring a sales team or feeling sleazy. The reason he can use a little bit vaguer language is because of his credibility. And this is just a watch of training. So it's a free resource page. It's not like selling anything, but they collect your email here. So the goal is he gets you on his email list and then he upsells you via email. But see here, he's got a value stack and he uses bold font to basically just emphasize the different points. And that is something that is also really valuable to do in a page. And I would even say like he could probably put literally anything in like green or red or potentially like a brighter yellow, and that would emphasize it better. 3 high converting virtual stages, aka sales funnels, to leverage to build wealth while you sleep. So he's just going through, you stack the value and it's super simple. Like it just ends after that. And that's key with like sales pages. You don't want them to have like a ton of information that's just going to confuse the reader, or worst case, like multiple CTAs. That gets really confusing. So that's huge. Building trust and authority. You can do that a lot of different ways. We've talked about this already: case studies, testimonials, social proof, expertise. But you want to just make sure that's somewhere on the page. Now for Russell, the thing with this is like his face shows credibility. People know his face. Anyone in the sales space knows his face. Anyone in the webinar space or online business space knows his face. So he doesn't actually have to do too much to credibility, but he does say in the headline, he gives some credibility, how he's, basically he's been able to sell anything to anyone. So some credibility there. But yeah, now the before and after on your page is what's going to give you the real data on what's working. So if you split test 2 pages, for example, I could split test one with a black background, white text, and a white background and black text. And that would be really interesting because then I can really analyze and improve based on the actual insights of my audience, as opposed to just trusting some random fact I found on Google. So the ultimate thing to track is just, are you getting calls booked or sales or whatever it is that your page is promising? A failing page is going to have a terrible CTR and probably no calls. It's going to have probably some key mistakes, too much information, terrible formatting. Maybe some of the links don't work. Whereas the succeeding page is going to be clean, super simple, well designed, not a ton of options, and going to convert, 5 to 10%. All right. Now, the visual hierarchy. This is what I briefly mentioned before to guide the eye through the different stages of your funnel. So light backgrounds. White background with black text enhances readability, clear headlines to break up the text with clear headings, and guide readers through your message effectively. So you want like really important points to be in bold or like big text, whereas like explanations, details, they can be in smaller text. So they don't actually have to be read unless that headline is so interesting that the reader wants to read it. Clean graphics. So you don't want to include any graphics unless they're just like really high quality visuals that support and reinforce your message. Otherwise, like if they're just there to be there, please remove them. They're not needed. Red, yellow, and green are the highest converting colors. So emphasize words for your CTA with those colors. And then you want a visual path on your sales page. So you want to guide the reader's eye in sequential order through objection handling to the CTA. All right. So the messaging has to be in line with whatever the previous step was. Like we mentioned with the ads, the messaging from the ads to the sales page has to be in sync. The messaging from an email to a sales page, or from an ad to an email list, or an ad to a sales page to then an email list, like they all have to line up. And it's crucial that's in sync with the first thing a lead sees on your sales page. So that headline is the first thing they see on your sales page. That's what needs to be in sync. That's what you need to get right. So sales page, emails, ads, whatever it is, it goes for every piece of content in your funnel. Align your sales page with those pieces, especially whatever one is like right before and right after. Then the power of proof. So sales data, this is the actual number of sales or client results increased after changes in your page. Like if you're selling something, you want to actually have some statistical evidence that it works, and testimonials that gives your page some authority. You can share pictures, you can share like video testimonials, whatever it is. And then when it comes to the value stack and the CTA, like they can be really short. Like 3 points is plenty. You want the benefits to be more prominent than like the features. So you can start to stack up the value in your reader's mind, and you can use lists, graphics, or video to lay out what your offer brings to the table. And then justify the CTA. Transform your CTA into a compelling narrative. Don't just like sell it, push it on people, but tell a story or motivate the action with like an actual problem solving technique, a case study. And that's going to allow your CTA to just feel like it's the natural step in succession to, them reading the rest of that page. And keep it simple. So this is an example of a sales page Alex and Layla Hormozi have created. They have one graphic here and 2 colors on the page. So you want to limit your color palette to 2 for a clean and focused design. Then select really simple fonts for readability and consistency, no more than 2 fonts. And then focus on one primary CTA for a straightforward next step. You don't want multiple CTAs. Confused leads don't buy. So focus on the essentials and avoid unnecessary design elements. And then the CTA should have a single goal. That should be the core factor behind everything on your page, should be just getting more people to take action. You want a strong argument where the action language in your page is all geared to get users to identify with whatever identity they need to have to take the next step. You can use a lot of psychology in just creating an identity for the people that are visiting this page so that the CTA is actually something that feels like it's part of who they are. And then here's an example. Start your free trial today, get instant access, download now. That is only going to work if it's in line with what was previously put on the page. So color theory for captivating CTAs. Like I said, there's certain colors that perform a lot better. Yellow and red are the best performing ones. And then it's green and I think blue and maybe purple after, I don't know. But the right color makes a huge difference for your CTA buttons. So you want to keep that in mind. And obviously it should be in line with your brand colors, but ultimately just make sure that it is a color that is going to stand out. If there's nothing else, even if it's purple, if it's whatever color, if it's blue, Layla's was purple, so that's fine. But it has to stand out. Hers is a very strong purple against a white background. So it stood out and it was very prominent. So build your page in line with the messaging of your funnel. That just gives your leads what you promised them. Define your audience in the headline so that people know if this is an offer for them. Simplify and build credibility. So you have a really, really simple design that just allows the reader to focus on the credibility / message of your offer. And then have a compelling value stack and a CTA. So your CTA should feel like you are literally doing your audience a favor. And that is just a overview of sales pages. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Now we are going to move on to the next segment. Okay, this is one of my favorite pieces of copy, posts on School. And also this really applies to emails and to LinkedIn posts. So I repurpose a lot of content from School to LinkedIn for my clients, and they have very, very similar patterns to them. So I'm going to dive into exactly how I write posts, how I've written posts for my clients. I've helped 4 communities win the games, written over 100 posts, gotten pinned over 10 times, generating $300,000 through School. And I've analyzed over 500 posts across multiple communities. So basically, this is just going to be the insights from all of that. So there's 3 different kinds of posts, or there's 2 different kinds of posts here that we're talking about. And then there's some sub categories within them. So internal posts are nurturing your existing community members. So that's specialized content, member exclusive value, and direct problem solving. And then external posts, they're strategic. They're designed to go into a bigger community to build some brand recognition, to build your personal brand on School and expand your network. And the ROI is going to vary based on your community focus. So there might not be a huge ROI if you have a super, super specific niche like type 1 diabetes, for example, like one of my clients does. That might not really have any benefit in posting externally on School, but a make money niche has a lot of value from posting on there because almost everyone on School wants to make money. So you want a targeted approach. And then your writing structure, you should space out the sentences like any piece of copy, write short sentences, simple language, good flow. We've already covered that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But the free community focus is basically just basic content, basic concepts, foundational knowledge, the what questions. Whereas the paid community focus is detailed processes, implementation strategies, and it's a lot more focused on the how as opposed to the what. So it's got specific action steps. It's a lot more like implementation. So the engagement, the hook needs to get people to click. So like any post, that's the same principle, the same formula for a good hook. Value solves real problems in the interest. Sharing compelling insights. That is pretty much the formula for any piece of copy, but especially on School, like the compelling insights, it has to be relevant to whatever the topic of your niche is, and really staying up to date, sharing new information, sharing personal stories. That stuff performs really well in School. If you're just repeating stuff or like posting thought leadership posts, people don't really appreciate those. But simple language wins, natural tone, write like you speak, be conversational, approachable. And opinion posts are something you actually want to be kind of like careful with. So focus on value. Opinions really belong in the comments, not the main post, because otherwise it becomes like a social media dynamic. So you want to have that like kind of like expert input type of value that you offer your community, but you don't necessarily want to put that in the post. That belongs more in the comments. In the post, you want to provide like resources, you want to provide insights, you want to provide updates, stories, and really invite discussion. So member opinions is a great way to boost engagement. And when you do share opinions, it can lead to less engagement. So Always end an opinion post, if you have to make one, by asking for other people's perspectives or experiences or opinions. And if you stick with like neutral topics, it can get a little boring. So you have to be careful, make sure your topics aren't bland. Otherwise, there's no point in posting. But if you are just posting expert opinions and really like controversial topics, you might actually stifle engagement, which is just going to lead to a dead community or just like a dead post. Whereas if you have open questions, neutral topics that lead to conversation, that's going to promote a lot of engagement. And what questions? That promotes active engagement because it's like exploratory questions. So in the paid community, people are actually joining to hear your opinion. So you can focus more on like the opinion posts, but you still want to prioritize the facts and the knowledge, while keeping note that expert opinion is more valued there. The key difference is mostly it's like free communities should foster a broad exploration of whatever your niche is and a discussion, while paid communities can be more directive and solution focused. And the rationale is just that like you don't want to be a social media like influencer. You don't want that social media style engagement, because on social media, someone posts an opinion, everyone else just replies with great or thank you or whatever, and eventually people just stop engaging altogether and they just like the posts. And that becomes a one-way communication channel as opposed to a true community discussion. Like on school, people are designed to communicate with each other as opposed to just like broadcasting out to an audience. So you want to avoid that social media effect. And the importance of writing well. So this applies to everything again, but whether you're writing a post for free community or paid, the fundamentals of great writing remain the same. Compelling hooks, clear action steps, community engagement, they're essential to making sure your message actually resonates. And clear action steps, like I talked about, that does really well in school because people are on school to learn. So if you have clear action steps that they can implement right away, they appreciate that. And then you also have people that come back, follow you, and engage with your posts like every time you post. So problem solution, that's, just addressing member challenges, interesting content that requires a little bit of research to actually have something unique to share, and then a compelling hook that actually gets people to click. So you want your post to be intentional. When it comes to solving a problem, that's like, it's still intentional. Even if like you are, let's say, making a post for fun, like you are solving the problem of boredom or whatever. So the best posts are relevant to the reader. They're written conversationally, have a simple structure, are shareable, and give the reader something they didn't have before. So this is an example of a post that I made externally in the school games community and a post that I made in my paid community. And one of them is super short and just like very, very niche specific. And that's this one. It's just talking about font. People in the general school community could care less about font, but people in my copywriting community think that's really cool. And they wanted to know my statistics on what fonts like perform best. And then people in the school community, I posted something a lot broader. So school games winner checklist. That's something that everyone in the school games community is obviously interested in because they're in the school games community. So I just posted insights that I learned from helping 4 people win the games and just like what was working in their marketing. And these are very different posts. One is written to apply to a lot of people. One is written to apply to a very small sub niche of people. So foundational knowledge, that's what's going to belong in your free community. Engagement and everything, that's great in the paid as well, but mostly in the free is where you're going to optimize for engagement so you can get people to actually upsell. And in the paid community, you can share new strategies, more specific actionable steps. You can share a lot of implementation tools, resources, and advanced solutions where you're getting ultra specific with your problem solving techniques. All right, so the problem solving framework. This works so well for both school posts and for emails. So you do some problem identification in the comments. You relate to the member's current problem. You have to start with some research. You actually can see what they're saying and experiencing right now. Then you go through the solution discovery and you're sharing what's worked for you and then actionable steps. So the implementation part is crucial because 3 to 5 action steps at the end of your post is going to boost engagement a lot and also just like give people real value. If you're just posting thoughts and opinions and there's no action steps, people have a hard time translating that into like what they should do next with that information. So you want to give them the action steps and then prompt members to share their perspectives. Okay, so fostering engagement, end with a question. That's the easiest way to foster engagement because when you have an easy to answer question, you'll get way more engagement. You don't want like a super broad, vague question. You want something that's like super specific. Like what was the last message you sent that to XYZ, or what was the last time someone said XYZ, or what was the last movie you watched, or whatever, like something relevant to your niche, but also really easy to answer. And then focus topics. So your post should be relevant and intentional. You can do an occasional random post. You can do, a post that's maybe like holiday related, or, a current event, or something that's just funny, or, share a video. But ideally, you want it to be somehow tied into the community. Find a way to tie it in. Otherwise, people might start to get annoyed that you're posting that stuff. And then results driven, track and celebrate member progress. That's a great thing to post about. Spurs more people to take action. And this belongs a lot in the paid community, where people are focused on getting results and implementing. So if you're posting results driven posts in the paid community, what it's going to do is like kind of spark some competition or just like excitement in people to get posted about as well. So if they see their friend get a post written by you about XYZ results that person got, then they're going to want to go and take action and get results as well, so that they can get a post written about them. So that's a really good way to get some people to take action in your group. And then just like managing questions isn't super relevant to this course, but just using categories to guide member posts. In the free community, I would only reply to comments under your posts, but not too much on the member side, because that would just become so time consuming. But whereas in the paid community, I would spend a lot of time just answering questions. And then highlight advanced solutions. Occasionally, you want to come in with a fairly complex post and showcase paid community benefits by just sharing whatever it is that like you would normally share in the paid community. So yeah, different interaction patterns, conversions, directly or indirectly, all your free community posts should lead to sales. CTAs, there's a lot of ways you can CTA in a school post, whether you're sharing compelling case studies, showcasing member results. That's going to naturally lead to a call to action. And then when you're teaching a lesson, the way you can position your paid community is just like as a sequential, logical step following whatever like skill that you're teaching in that lesson post. And then promotional posts, obviously that's just like completely focused on making sales. So you're highlighting exclusive benefits, special offers, and you really want to like dig into the value stack there, have like some type of a list, some type of a actual bonus stack where you're talking about what's in your offer, and definitely build some urgency. Maybe you're doing a sale. Maybe it's like, the next 10 people get a strategy call or whatever, and you're just basically offering an incentive or a limited time bonus to get people into your paid community. CTAs with success stories, those are going to highlight outcomes. So if you're sharing some inspiring results that somebody else in the free or somebody else in your paid group got, and you share that in the free community, that's going to spur action into the paid group. And you can have a CTA that's something like, if you want to get results like John or whatever, book the same call John booked in order to get your full like free strategy session. And then preview the strategy. Explain specific steps taken to achieve success, with a step being to join the paid. Address challenges, so incorporate all obstacles free community members may be encountering to overcome objections before they ever join a call. And then CTAs through lessons, that's like what I said, like you're just posting about like some type of a skill, you're teaching something, and then the CTA is the next logical step that your audience is going to take upon learning that lesson. And you want to post to preview additional resources, give them some strategic frameworks, but keep the tools in the paid. And yeah, you're giving them free value. Make it about them. So focus on the reader's goals, not yours. Think about why people join your community. If it's the free, if it's the paid, why are they there? What are they looking to achieve? Highlight the benefits and solutions of your offer and tie those into exactly what the reader is looking to achieve, the member is looking to achieve. And then create a sense of urgency without being too pushy. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing relationships in your community. And so you don't want to be like posting every day with a CTA. You want to make sure that you're also just posting some posts that are fun, posts that are just like sharing insights and knowledge into whatever niche that you're teaching, and giving them free value, getting them results in the free as well as the paid. So when you're writing for your school community, you want to test against your goal. So purpose check. Can somebody explain your post purpose in one sentence? Is there a measurable result? Is the promised result something that they can measure upon reading the post? And then what's the value proposition of that post or of the sale that you're trying to make? What's the CTA value proposition if there is a CTA? And if not, then what is the actual value proposition of them just reading your post? So like a lot of times I'll start a school post with like a little preview sentence of like what the post will help them do. Or I'll actually put in parentheses sometimes. This is like actually a great hook. Is like skip to the bottom to get my 3-step action plan to achieve XYZ. And then people skip to the bottom, they see the action step, and then they come back to the top and read the whole post. But the hook should have a clear promise, simple titles that grab attention instantly. It should be short, roughly under 40 characters, same as an email, and it should be tangible. So a lot of these are the same principles as emails. This is an example of a good hook. So whatever this audience is, I'm guessing they're women. I'm guessing they're probably interested in beauty products, and How to Be Prettier is a pretty short hook that targets that very specific audience. And then visual writing techniques. So this is the theme we've been talking about a lot in this course, is just like painting a picture in the mind of your reader. So including relevant visual elements, creating action items, the structure of your writing, and then actually like creating a mental movie in your member's mind. These are the things that are going to lead to a strong CTA. So you want to think about like the day-to-day life of your members and figure out how you can kind of like paint the picture of where their life could be. To do that, you need to know your audience, solve a real problem, and provide value. So ask yourself, is it shareable? Would somebody tag their friend in this post? Because if not, then the content probably isn't solving a problem in a fresh way. It's probably just reiterating something that they've already seen somewhere. So you want to be different. Don't just repeat the same information that's already available. Offer a unique perspective and keep it fun. Use storytelling, use humor, real life examples, and connect with your audience on a personal level, especially on school. You want to make sure that like you're true to your personality. You're true to the version that they're going to meet on a call or whatever it is. But keep it simple, clear language and structure, win every time, and solve problems, stay consistent, maintain quality across all of your community content, and don't post if you don't have something valuable to share. So those are the main takeaways when it comes to school posts. And now we're going to dive into webinars. So I like to think of webinars as just the most scalable sales call, because you can have up to like 500,000 people on a webinar. Like, you know, you can do crazy things with webinars. If you look at Alex Hormozi's book launch, like ultimately it is just like a really scalable sales call, and you're able to sell at mass. You can sell high ticket, you can sell low ticket, and it's a lot of fun once you dial it in. That funnel, once you create it, is reusable. Once those emails are drafted out, once your webinar slides are put together, you can reuse them like every week. You could reuse them once a year. You could reuse them every day, once a month, however often you want to, inject some capital into your business. It is so valuable to have those materials mapped out, because they can add a flood of sales in a matter of hours. And they just allow you to reach a large group of people. You can either run ads, or you can just use organic content. You can use, like I did during the school games, I just did a lot of like partnerships, where it's basically leveraging people's audiences. So that was one way. And then I also did webinars in my own community. So anyone who wants to nurture their audience, gain momentum, inject capital, launch a new offer, should be doing webinars, because they're the best for people that are looking, especially to launch a new offer or nurture your audience and gain momentum. They are a really quick way to do that. And like I said, you can scale the heck out of these things. So how to frame your webinar. Number one, when you're promoting it, whether it's on cold traffic or it's on social media, you don't want to call it a webinar. People immediately feel sold to, and people are not going to join a call where they know that there's going to be a pitch, or where they think it's just going to be all about selling them. So you want to present the value of it in your copy. You want to really promote whatever the value stack, whatever the problem that you're going to solve is, and call it something like my ultimate masterclass, my 1-hour blueprint, my niche workshop, or whatever. Like, it depends on your niche, but like, let's say it's fitness. So my ultimate 6-pack masterclass, my 1-hour fitness blueprint, or my 6-pack workshop, or whatever, but tie it into your niche. And then the schedule of your webinar has to be strategic as well. So timing is crucial, because you have an audience that is probably mostly in one part of the world, or maybe they're all over, and then you really have to get strategic with when you time it. But consider your audience's availability and optimize for maximum attendance. So think about like the ideal days. Typically it's gonna be like Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I see higher attendance rates for my clients. Optimal hours, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. seems to be the best. I like to do like 12 and 1 p.m. webinars, because a lot of people that even do work a job, they're on a lunch break. Analyze past data. So use the results to really inform like scheduling for next webinars too, and track that. But now let's focus on the pre-webinar buzz. You want to make people excited for your webinar. You have to generate excitement before the webinar, get people to actually attend, use multiple channels. Like if you want to actually see people like a crazy show up rate to your webinar, you have to go crazy with the promotion, because just because someone's registered does not mean they're going to attend. So you want to continue promoting on social media, Instagram stories, Instagram posts. You want to promote with ads. Obviously, people are probably going to join your webinar from an ad or a social media post, but then you want to continue promoting to those same people that have already registered with more ads, retargeting ads, more content on social media, and then email marketing. So as soon as they opt in for your webinar, they should get put onto an automation of a webinar registration flow, where they're just getting reminders of what's going to be on the webinar, why they should attend, when to save the webinar, calendar information, And then there should also be a marketing campaign of reminder emails that go out like 48 hours before the webinar, 24 hours, 12 hours, 6 hours, 1 hour, and at the time of the webinar. And potentially some SMS blasts as well if you have that set up. But the registration page should be super, super simple. So just a compelling headline. I showed you the book a call page that I have. It's basically the same as my registration page for a webinar, but it's just like super simple, benefit-driven description, and easy registration form. So I'm going to show you one that I created for a client recently. So this is a super simple page. Join the free masterclass this Thursday the 13th to learn how to get your first 1,000 customers. Everything was in red. She changed the CTA button, but red tends to perform better. The little value stack, super simple though. It's just CTA to reserve a spot, and a simple value stack, some graphics here, like reiterating the value, and then it just takes them to like a registration page. So that's like a great example of a very simple one. Calls out the target audience here, promise here, learn how to get your first 1,000 customers, a little bit of credibility, and then like again another CTA, and then there's a form to opt in. So yeah, that's the main components of a good registration page. And then the attendance boost. So initial invite should reiterate the details of the webinar, send them a Zoom link, and then you want reminder emails that are going out every single day and a last minute push of like a bunch of emails, like even potentially every hour on the last day. The slides that are going to be really good have to be visually appealing, but super simple. So you want clear, concise content and keep your audience engaged throughout the presentation. A visually appealing design is just like high quality images. Maybe you share pictures of yourself throughout your journey. Clear and concise content, really like simple bullet points, avoid lengthy paragraphs, and just keep things interactive. Like ask questions to your members throughout the webinar, incorporate polls, Q&A sessions, etc. And then at the end, this is actual conversion component. You want a compelling pitch that should be tied into every other component of your webinar. It should be a really natural transition. It shouldn't even feel like a transition. Just connect the value proposition to the audience and convert people that are on the webinar into clients. And also keep note of anyone that is on the webinar after you drop the price is a 100% qualified lead and they want to buy from you. They just have an objection you haven't overcome yet. Because if you drop the price and they are still on the call, they are interested. They would have left if they were not going to buy. But there's something you haven't addressed. There's some objection. So opening up the end of the webinar to some questions is a really great way to increase those conversions. All right. And then the follow-up frenzy. So I had a client who I wrote him a webinar promotional sequence and some webinar slides, and he did like 22K on the webinar, which is great for a low ticket. But then the follow-up frenzy was where we had another 20K come in. So as soon as the webinar ended, we sent a thank you email, and then we had like, I think 4 or 5 emails that went in sequence, just reiterating like a 48-hour sale. So basically the offer for anyone on the webinar was like a massive discount, and it lasted for 48 hours, and then the entire offer shut down. So we leveraged the heck out of that and just like spammed with like follow-up emails, and so many people bought because they were so nurtured on the webinar. So webinars are like a massive point of sales. You could literally, like a lot of my clients only use webinars, and the follow-up is critical. So you want to make sure that you're optimizing for attendance. A lot of people are not getting good attendance rates because they're simply just not sending out enough emails, and that's gonna determine your conversions like by a lot. Because if you don't have a follow-up sequence, think about like if you were to sign up for a register that's like, or sign up for a webinar that's like 5 days from now, you're probably not even gonna like remember it in like a week. You're going to just completely forget that you signed up for it. And maybe you like remember when you get a calendar invite or a calendar update, and then you're like, oh crap, like I already scheduled something else, blah, 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 I can't attend. But like if you're getting slammed with emails every single day and like an SMS blast, and then you're seeing it on Instagram, you're getting an ad, like you're going to remember it. You're going to have it in the back of your mind at all times. And so that's why that like promotional sequence is so important. And then when it comes to the follow-up sequence, like people have just been so nurtured on a good webinar where you've probably solved some problems, delivered a ton of value, showed that like you have the credibility to solve their future problems. And they're so nurtured that then if you just have a good like follow-up sequence of literally 3 or 4 or 5 emails, you can like double your sales. Like that's basically what my client did. 22K on the call, 20K post-webinar. So that's definitely something you don't want to sleep on. Webinars are crucial. I don't think every business needs to do them, but I think every business should, especially in the info space. All right, we've talked about webinars, we've talked about emails, we've talked about ads, we've talked about pretty much every type of content, school posts. And the main commonality that I've mentioned quite a few times is build trust and build credibility with your audience. And now I want to talk about how to actually do that, because the goal of copywriting is to get users to take action. And a prerequisite of them taking action is they have to trust that you're actually going to deliver on the promise. So trust between the writer and the reader is crucial. And I actually want to break down how to create that, because it's pretty simple. And most of it's just going to come down to actually just backing up your promises. But relatability, real user voices create authentic connections. Genuine experiences demonstrate the product's effectiveness. So you want to paint that dream. And then credibility, building faith by showcasing results. So this is all tying into user testimonials. Having people that have gone through your program, gone through your product, posting a video or posting a comment is huge in just creating some trust between you and a potential client. Now, weave in your personal story. Build a connection, share personal experiences to build trust. Some authenticity. You want to be genuine, be honest if you struggled with some things or you had some doubts, and demonstrate your passion and your values. Showcase, highlight expertise, build relationships, overcome excuses. So that's the same as just objection handling. You want to overcome those things that are in the back of your buyer's mind, maybe keeping them from taking an action on whatever the next step is in your funnel. Show me the data. So incorporate some statistical evidence. So that could be in your general market. It could be with your clients, it could be with, your personal story, but some evidence backed by numbers. And literally you can just go and cite a study or cite a Harvard research paper or something, but using some numbers to support your claims, your promises, and the effectiveness of your offer is going to build a lot of trust. And then use clear and verified research to showcase your point as often as you can, just citing the source, Harvard study or whatever, that is recognizable. If it's not recognizable, it's kind of irrelevant whether you cite it or not, but if it is recognizable, that adds a lot to your credibility. And then create reliable and believable content. So analogies are bridges here. Simplifying your point with an analogy is just going to allow you to reach more people. I think if you watch an Alex Hormozi video, he gives a lot of really good analogies that you can kind of learn from. And ultimately, the more you write, the better you're going to get at creating analogies that just boil down complex ideas. And that builds a lot of trust. If you're not speaking up from some high horse and you're able to just speak simply, people trust you a lot more. Then relating to people, connect new concepts to familiar experiences. So that's when we really want to tie in that visual language component and talk about their day-to-day life, talk about how their life could be, and just create that vision in their mind of where they could be, but really being relatable. That builds trust. So then finally, engagement improves understanding and connection. Also, if people are engaging with you, it just shows that you're creating that human connection as opposed to them feeling like you're a robot. And then case studies. So the techniques for the case study is begin with a user success story, and the hook for that should either be the high point or the low point, and then going through that story and talking about things they struggled with, talking about doubts they had, is going to build a lot of belief in your prospects' minds. And then going into some actual data. So you want to support any type of a claim you're making with data. If you can support your promises and your claims with real life data, your audience is going to trust that you're actually an expert. And not only that, they're going to trust that you're telling the truth because you're backing everything up. If someone's just making up a bunch of promises and going and backing up with fake studies, it may be the first time it works, but people are going to catch on to that. And that's also why it's kind of irrelevant to include these studies from places that people don't even recognize. So if you can include a government study, or you can include a Harvard study, or maybe some influencers case study or something that people recognize. And then analogies just to basically simplify and boil down ideas. But you want to avoid exaggerated claims. That kills trust faster than anything. Another thing that kills trust is running a lot of promotions and using a lot of fake urgency. Because if people are this person's just doing another one of these 48-hour flash sales and they're going to do one next week too, they'll just not take action and wait for your next sale and probably eventually just stop opening your emails altogether because they all just sound the same. And then avoid typos and grammatical errors unless intentional, because sometimes there's a place for grammatical errors because it actually is just a slang term or whatever. But you don't want to avoid typos that clearly are unintentional. And then avoid using unreliable sources. Like I said, if they don't recognize the source, it's irrelevant to include it. But enhancing trust, collect user stories. That's number one. share the user stories, verify them, and refine them. So you want to gather testimonials and also share your own story, and then just verify the data that you share and refine your content. So those are the main principles of copywriting. When it comes to actually resonating with your audience, actually leading to conversions, you really want to create trust. That's going to lead to long-term goodwill. It's going to lead to the ability to leverage that audience, to get people onto webinars, to get people to engage in content, and to get people to follow you even if you change your offer. So those are the components to creating a loyal following. And there's so many different forms that copywriting is used, but those principles apply to every different platform, whether it's school posts, whether it's emails, whether it's ads, whether it's sales pages or whatever. Like those principles of like building trust apply to every different avenue that you could be writing in and every different avatar you could write for. So it's going to look differently, but it's going to be the same principles for every single niche. If you're writing to like an older generation, you might use less slang, you might use more proper sentences, you might use like different types of graphics. If you're writing to a younger audience, maybe you're using a lot of emojis, a lot of cut off sentences, a lot of like graphics and like, you know, maybe like jokes or memes or whatever, maybe more curse words with certain audiences, but you're still focusing on those primary objectives to establish a long-term following, establish a loyal following, and a brand that's going to have that cult-like following, have that following that's going to stick with you no matter what you change, what pivot you make. That's the ultimate goal with copywriting. It's just to create messaging that communicates value in a way that people want to continue reading it. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, guys, that is a wrap on the Copywriting Masterclass, breaking down pretty much every piece of copy that I currently write for my clients in detail. If you guys want some more breakdowns of the other kinds of copy that I'm writing, you can check out the videos I've posted for those individual pieces, but hopefully that was valuable. We just spent a lot of time breaking down the principles that apply to every type of written persuasion. And if you guys want more resources or more help, check out the free community. I've linked it below, where I just basically go in depth on the kind of copy that I'm writing for my clients. Or if you're a business owner doing 30 to 50K a month and you want to scale your marketing and outsource your copywriting, feel free to book a call with my team below. We're happy to strategize with you and create a game plan, see how we can help you. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.